Chapter 434. Ding Fengqiu raised his palm, and a ball of lightning attributed spiritual energy gathered on his palm. The unconscious Jin Wuji's expression immediately relaxed. Bang! Ding Fengqiu casually waved his hand and the ball of lightning landed on the ground. It blasted a huge pit and kicked up a cloud of dust. What a strong lightning-attributed energy! This person might be cultivating a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Otherwise, he would not have such surging energy as an inferior-grade martial king. Ding Fengqiu frowned slightly as he muttered to himself. Furthermore, this was only the remnant energy. If he used it at full power, it would be even stronger. It had to be said that Ding Fengqiu's eyes were very good. With just the remnant energy, he was able to roughly guess Xiao Chen's true strength. Ding Fengqiu, I told you long ago not to bring out trash. Now, you have embarrassed yourself. The beast-taming abode's Pei Xiaoxian laughed loudly as he walked over. You are seeking death. Ding Fengqiu's expression turned cold. He formed two fingers on his right hand into a sword and pointed at Pei Xiaoxian. Xiao! The sword at Ding Fengqiu's waist hummed and quickly came out of its scabbard. Under his control, it carried a surging sword intent as it flew at Pei Xiaoxian. Woo! Woo! The sword hummed in the air. Water-like ripples spread out from the sword. It seemed like space itself turned blurry. Pei Xiaoxian's expression changed. He had not expected Ding Fengqiu to make a move. He quickly formed hand seals with both hands. A circular formation appeared in front of Pei Xiaoxian. An ape with skin as hard as steel blocked Pei Xiaoxian's path. Bang! As soon as the ape appeared, a huge bloody hole was opened up in its chest by the long sword. The sword pierced through its body and it couldn't be any more dead. Hu Qi! Pei Xiaoxian had not expected Ding Fengqiu to break the steel ape, which had a high defense, in an instant. Pei Xiaoxian did his best to dodge. However, the sword still managed to leave a deep wound on his right arm. Blood gushed out like a fountain. Soon, his entire right arm was dyed red. It looked very scary. Pei Xiaoxian, on account of your first senior brother, I will not kill you immediately. In the future, you better watch your mouth. The people of the Heavenly Sword Gate are not for you to speak. Kacha! Ding Fengqiu waved his hand, and his sword returned to its scabbard. He picked up Jin Wuji's body and left without even looking at Pei Xiaoxian. As Pei Xiaoxian watched Ding Fengqiu leave, he revealed an extremely hateful gaze. The grudge between him and Ding Fengqiu had started long ago. During one of his fortuitous encounters, he had been severely injured by the other party while fighting for a natural treasure. The other party had even stolen all of his treasures, and he had always viewed it as a great humiliation. Otherwise, he would not have dealt a heavy blow to Jin Wuji in the previous five-nation youth competition and eliminated him in a sorry state. After that, he retracted his gaze and stopped the sword wound on his arm. He squatted down and pointed the red ring on his right hand at the steel ape lying in a pool of blood on the ground. Chi chi! With a flash of red light, the steel ape's corpse and blood were sucked into the ring. Kacha kacha! A series of hair-raising sounds came from the ring. It was very strange. The full moon hung high in the sky, like a silver plate adorning the night sky. Xiao Chen and Mu Xinya sat on a roof in the city. Although they were chatting, Mu Xinya was the one speaking most of the time. Xiao Chen had a rough understanding of what happened after she left the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. After inheriting the Heavenly Wolf King's power, Mu Xinya's strength increased rapidly. Now, she was already a peak superior grade martial king. The most important thing was that she did not have any bottlenecks. As long as she absorbed the Heavenly Wolf King's power, her strength would continue to increase. Her potential was unlimited. When fighting with others, she could draw on the Heavenly Wolf King's power. Even if she faced a half-step martial monarch, she would still be able to hold her own. She would not be like Xiao Chen, who had no chance and could only find an opportunity to retreat. Because of her, the Heavenly Wolf race, which was in a precarious situation, obtained a large amount of resources from the Myriad Fiend Palace. The overall strength of the heavenly wolf race increased by the day. Yi Chen, did you know? That month in the underground world was actually the most ordinary period of my life. Mu Xinya raised her head and looked at the bright moon in the sky. The moonlight shone on her silver hair, adding a faint glow to it. It looked somewhat dreamy. Ha ha. However, I cannot stop. The burden of the clan rests on my shoulders. There are 20 spots in the ancient desolate tower. I must obtain one. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. In that case, I wish you success. I must obtain one of the 20 spots. Mu Xinya smiled. In that case, let's work hard together. When the time comes, we will work together in the ancient desolate tower. With our tacit understanding, we might be able to reach a height that no one has ever reached before. I'm leaving. Thank you for chatting with me for so long. I can finally let go of the burden in my heart. Mu Xinya waved her hand at Xiao Chen. Then, she jumped off the roof and landed far away. Xiao Chen stood up and looked at the distant Mu Xinya. He sighed softly. There are more than 1,000 peak geniuses. Just in this group, there are geniuses among geniuses like Ding Fengqiu, Jiang Zimo, and Mu Xinya. These 20 spots will not be easy to obtain. However, no matter what, he had to obtain these 20 spots. The ancient desolate tower had a total of 9 floors. Back then, the genius Thunder King had made it to the 7th floor before he rose up. In the past few years, although there were not many people who made it to the 5th floor, they had all obtained great benefits. Some of them had a great increase in their cultivation. Some had obtained ancient heaven-ranked martial techniques or heaven-ranked cultivation techniques. There were also those who had reached a bottleneck in comprehending martial techniques. They had a huge breakthrough in there and their combat prowess had increased greatly after they came out. It would not be an exaggeration to say that without the ancient desolate tower, it would be very difficult for the cultivators of the 4 nations to enter the top 50 on the Tianwu ranking. The next day, just as dawn broke, the light of dawn shone on every corner of Wrestling City. More than 200 outstanding talents from all over the world were already waiting in the Great Hall of Old Li's residence. Xiao Chen stood in a corner of the crowd, waiting calmly for Li Shouju to arrive. This was only the first round of selection. He believed that he had the strength to clear it. After a while, Li Shouju walked out from the back of the Great Hall. Aside from his 3 assistants, there was an unfamiliar cultivator beside him. That person wore tight cultivator robes. His muscles were bulging, making him look very strong. He looked to be in his 40s and was actually a half-step martial monarch. There was a faint scar on the right side of this person's face, giving him a ferocious aura. His eyes were dim and lifeless, making him look very sinister. Li Shouju found Xiao Chen in the crowd and smiled coldly. Then, he withdrew his gaze and said, "Let me introduce everyone. This is Wrestling City's City Lord, Gao Yangyu. We will not be in charge of what happens next. 6 days from now, I will be in charge of counting the people who won 60 matches. I will bring those who meet the criteria to Desolate City and meet up with the people from the other 3 groups for the second round of selection. Those who do not meet the criteria will be sent home." After Li Shouju spoke, he did not care about anything else. He led his 3 assistants and left, leaving the scene to Gao Yangyu. Gao Yangyu looked at the crowd calmly. With a flip of his hand, a stack of contracts appeared. Then, he silently distributed them to the crowd. Xiao Chen took a look at the contract. It was a life and death contract. The general content of the contract was that he was willing to participate in the A-rank wrestling matches. His life and death had nothing to do with Wrestling City. Let me state this first, Wrestling City does not have much of a relationship with the Heavenly Extermination Union. They have no control over me. In fact, I only received news about you people wanting to participate in the A-rank wrestling matches a week ago. I will not give you any special privileges. You will be the same as the other cultivators participating in the A-rank wrestling matches. Your life and death will be up to fate. If you want to participate, you will have to sign this contract first. After Gao Yangyu finished distributing the contracts, he spoke calmly. Li Xiuzhu had already told everyone about this. The outstanding talents present all had calm expressions. They did not hesitate to sign the contracts. Perhaps there might really be deaths in the A-rank wrestling matches. However, everyone here was an outstanding talent, they were all very strong. Who would think that they would be the ones dying? After signing the life and death contract, Xiao Chen lined up at the back of the crowd. He was the last to hand the contract to Gao Yangyu. Gao Yangyu looked at the name on the life and death contract. He could not help but glance at Xiao Chen. An undetectable killing intent flashed in his eyes. Xiao Chen could clearly feel this killing intent. However, his expression did not change as he slowly moved to the back. Xiao Chen had no grudges with Gao Yangyu. Logically speaking, Gao Yangyu could not possibly have any killing intent towards him. The only possibility was that Li Xiuzhu had left some instructions for him. It looks like this old thing really wants to fight with me, Xiao Chen thought to himself coldly. I will endure this for now and keep an eye out. After Gao Yangyu put away the contract, he appeared very satisfied. He smiled faintly and said, "Very good. No one is absent. I wish you all good luck in advance." Gao Yangyu twisted the ring on his right hand and space fluctuated intensely. Suddenly, a door of light appeared in the hall. "Let's go." Gao Yangyu took the lead and stepped into the door of light. None of them were ordinary cultivators. They knew that this was a rarely seen teleportation door. There was nothing to be surprised about, so they all followed suit. As usual, Xiao Chen was the last to enter. When he stepped into the door of light, he felt a mysterious energy pull his body infinitely. All the sensations disappeared. It felt like only an instant, but it also felt like an eternity. Xiao Chen finally regained control of his movements. Roar! 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 Just as Xiao Chen found his footing, he heard earth-shattering shouts. The sounds did not stop for a long time. Xiao Chen looked up and discovered that he and the others were in a majestic wrestling ring. The circular wrestling ring was at least 10,000 square meters in size. It was surrounded by a ring of spectator stands. The 10,000 seats were all occupied, it was very lively. Gao Yangyu gathered everyone together and pointed in a direction. He said, "Later, 1,000 demonic beasts will charge out from the cages over there. There will be a total of 200 iron medallions in the bodies of the 1,000 demonic beasts. You have to kill the demonic beasts and obtain the iron medallions before you can truly qualify to fight in the rank A wrestling ring." Chapter 435. Everyone looked in the direction of Gao Yangyu's finger. They saw countless scarlet eyes flashing in a pitch-black space behind a metal railing. A strong aura came from inside, accompanied by the roars of beasts, causing everyone to tremble in fear. Damn it! They are all rank 7 demonic beasts. When someone sensed the rank of the demonic beasts inside, his expression changed drastically. He was clearly horrified. Gao Yangyu smiled faintly and said, "That's right. They are all rank 7 demonic beasts. Furthermore, they are extremely hungry." One rank 7 demonic beast was not scary. Everyone here could deal with it easily. However, 1,000 rank 7 demonic beasts, even if they split the rewards evenly, everyone would have to fight for rank 7 demonic beasts alone. Furthermore, they would have to split their attention to snatch the iron medallion. That would be extraordinarily dangerous. Xia Xian's expression turned grave. She said softly to Xiao, "Don't get separated later. Follow me closely." Although Xiao was strong, she did not have much experience. The 1,000-sword pavilion's plan was to let her undergo a experiential training and try her luck. Perhaps, she could even enter the ancient desolate tower. However, the 1,000-sword pavilion did not expect that they would meet with such danger at the start of the selection. The other people in the crowd also looked for companions. Under such circumstances, it was too dangerous to be alone. Jiang Zimo and Mu Xinya also sent invitations to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen shook his head and rejected them. He knew that they were helping him out of goodwill. However, he had the advantage of speed and was not afraid of such a situation. There was no need to owe them a favor. Gao Yangyu was very satisfied with the atmosphere. After he stopped the discussion, he said, "After you obtain the Iron Medallion, you can be challenged by anyone here. As long as you are not a half-step martial monarch, you can challenge them. All you need to do is defeat these challengers and obtain 60 victories. Open the gates." Without giving the crowd any time to react, Gao Yangyu jumped out of the dojo and waved his hand. The iron railing holding the 1000-rank 7 demonic beasts immediately opened. Boom! 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 Intense footsteps resounded as all the demonic beasts rushed out. Blood dripped from their mouths as they charged at the crowd with bloodshot eyes. Thousands of demonic beasts crawled on the ground and flew in the sky. There were wind attributed, fire attributed, ice attributed, all sorts of demonic beasts. All of a sudden, they all rushed over together. Black chi soared into the sky, blotting out the sun. Their imposing manner was incomparably terrifying. The crowd did not hesitate in the slightest as they rapidly retreated. At this time, no one dared to test the sharpness of these demonic beasts. When a demon beast that was starving to the extreme suddenly smelled the scent of humans, it became several times more ferocious than usual. No one would be so stupid as to wantonly attack it now. Retreat! Everyone used their own movement techniques to retreat and quickly spread out. Boom, boom, boom. However, there were simply too many demonic beasts. The entire wrestling ring could only accommodate this group of demonic beasts. Soon, there were cultivators fighting the demonic beasts. 4 demonic beasts surrounded Xiao Chen. One of them was a scarlet steel snake that was as thick as a bucket and had steel-like spiritual scales. It was tens of meters long. 2 flame wolves covered in black chi walked on their hind legs, and an extremely fierce lightning bull stood on all fours. Hu Chi! The incredibly fast scarlet steel snake took the initiative to attack. It opened its huge mouth and shot towards Xiao Chen, wanting to swallow Xiao Chen whole. Xiao! Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and activated the blood flame shoes. His speed reached Mach 3.5, drawing a purple arc in the air. Xiao Chen's figure flickered and landed on the scarlet steel snake's head. Then, he stomped on it. Dang! Dang! A huge force landed on the scarlet steel snake's head, giving off an intense metallic sound. Xiao Chen stomped the scarlet steel snake's upper body into the ground. Rumble! A deep pit appeared in the ground. Cracks extended in all directions. Xiao Chen stood in the air. His ankle felt somewhat numb. However, he did not feel that the scarlet steel snake had suffered any fatal injuries. The rank 7 demonic beast scarlet steel snake was famous for its defense. Its scales were as hard as superior-grade frost iron. Swords and spears could not break them, making it very difficult to deal with. Chi! A purple bolt of lightning shot over quickly. It was the lightning bull attacking as well. 2 flame wolves covered in black flames followed the bolt of lightning and charged over. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and pulled back his palm. The purple bolt of lightning turned into a whirlpool and quickly gathered in his palm, turning into a clump of fierce purple flames. Without the protection of a state, Xiao Chen could absorb as much lightning-attributed energy as he wanted. Xiao Chen took a step forward and did not advance. Instead, he retreated and punched at the 2 flame wolves. A purple flame spread out from his fist, encasing the 2 flame wolves. Demonic beasts were very intelligent. The 2 flame wolves originally intended to take advantage of the time Xiao Chen blocked the lightning to charge up and attack. Who knew, Xiao Chen did not fear the lightning at all. With a flip of his palm, he withdrew the lightning. After the 2 demonic beasts charged up and attacked, they would remain in that state forever. Boom! The purple flames clashed with the black flames around the flame wolves, giving off intense heat. Then, Xiao Chen's punch knocked the purple flames back to the ground. After tumbling a few times, the flame wolves climbed back to their feet in a sorry state. Their fur was scorched, giving off black smoke. Roar! Roar! When the lightning ox saw that the lightning it was so proud of could not harm Xiao Chen, it became anxious and pressed its huge body towards Xiao Chen. The physiques of demonic beasts were generally stronger than those of human cultivators. When clashing head-on with their physical bodies, humans would usually be the ones at a disadvantage. Many demonic beasts like to use this move. If used well, they could even cause internal injuries to cultivators. Unfortunately, the lightning ox met with Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen clenched his fists and the image of a tiger and a dragon circled around his arms. The roars of the tiger and dragon resounded continuously. Crouching tiger, hidden dragon. Xiao Chen shouted and crossed his arms, taking on the lightning ox's frenzied charge. Bang! There was a loud sound of collision. Xiao Chen did not move at all. No matter how fast the lightning ox moved, it rebounded with a huge force. Dragon hisses, tiger roars. With the power of the crouching tiger, hidden dragon, Xiao Chen moved and arrived beside the lightning ox. Then, he punched the lightning ox, which had just gotten up. Roar! 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 When Xiao Chen punched, boundless tiger roars and dragon roars resounded endlessly. The sounds were ear-splitting, and intense explosions came from the lightning ox's body. Hu Chi! Hu Chi! The lightning ox retaliated with all its might. Electricity lit up all over its body, giving off a purple light. Boundless electricity danced around in the surroundings. As the electricity surged, Xiao Chen's hair and clothes fluttered continuously. There were even faint traces of electricity moving about, giving off a zhi-zhi sound. Xiao Chen did not show any fear. He punched the lightning ox's body with his right fist. Following the roars of the tiger and dragon, he punched the lightning ox continuously. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated rapidly in Xiao Chen's body. His left hand continuously absorbed the electricity, forming a spinning whirlpool of electricity. After a while, the internal organs of the lightning ox were completely shattered by Xiao Chen's punch. The electricity finally dissipated. The scarlet metal snake and the flame wolves took advantage of this opportunity to pounce over. The three demonic beasts executed their best moves. The scarlet metal snake's long tail swept down with a heavy force. The two flame wolves had black flames burning on their claws, leaving long black flaming tails in the air. Xiao Chen turned around and retreated. As he looked at the fierce purple flame on his palm, a strange thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Could I use this purple flame to execute the life bestowal spell? In theory, the life bestowal spell could make use of anything. When it reached great perfection, it could even make use of the air. Since he thought of it, there was no problem trying it out. Xiao Chen used his spiritual sense to split off a strand of purple flame and quickly made it into a soaring lightning fire goshawk. Pu Chi! Xiao Chen's right hand formed hand seals as the mental energy in his sea of consciousness drained continuously. The essence liquid in the Qi whirlpool also diminished at a visible rate. Using energy to execute the life bestowal spell actually drained twice as much. It could also be understood as merging essence and mental energy together. Xiao Chen shouted and executed the life bestowal spell. The lightning fire goshawk immediately came to life. When it spread its wings, it was 10 meters wide. The goshawk crashed into the snake tail descending from the sky. There was a ka-sieh sound, and the scales, which were as hard as frost iron, shattered. The entire snake tail broke from the impact. It really works. It is actually so strong, Xiao Chen said with a smile, revealing a joyful expression. When Gao Yangyu, who was in the spectator stands, saw this scene, his expression changed slightly. This move seems to have merged essence and mental energy. How did this brat do it? How could the mental energy of a martial king not be able to withstand the explosive essence? This was a technique that only martial monarchs could grasp. Even a half-step martial monarch like Gao Yangyu could only barely grasp it. The lightning ox was already dead, and the scarlet metal snake was severely injured. Xiao Chen only had to face two flame wolves. Victory was basically in the bag. As long as Xiao Chen's luck was not too bad, an iron medallion should appear within the 4 demonic beasts. However, the one with the most dazzling performance was not Xiao Chen but someone else. The many cultivators in the spectator stands all focused on the battle in the wrestling ring. They wanted to see who was worth betting on. Chapter 436. Wrestling City had been in operation for over 100 years. It had already formed a very commercialized chain of events. Not only could the challengers obtain generous prizes, but it was also very profitable. Not only could the challengers obtain bountiful prizes, but the ordinary spectators could also participate in the various competitions organized by Wrestling City. Wrestling City was only 5 kilometers away from the island's main city, Longyang City. Every day, tens of thousands of cultivators would come to watch the fights. The total flow of people was more than 1 million. Almost everyone would go down the mountain to place a few bets. Even if each person only bet a few hundred medial-grade spirit stones, the bets would reach hundreds of millions of medial-grade spirit stones. That was a very large sum. Not only could they earn some extra income, but they could also watch some strong combat techniques in the wrestling rings. Wrestling City was very attractive to cultivators. Look, Ding Fengqiu already obtained an iron medallion and left. The Heavenly Gate defensive sword is indeed extraordinary. Suddenly, someone in the spectator stands exclaimed. Not bad, he is strong enough. He managed to pierce through a vital point with one strike. He is indeed strong. I will place my bets on him after today's competition ends. The beast-taming abodes Pei Xiaoxian obtained an iron medallion as well. What a fellow! He controlled 7 or 8 rank 7 spirit beasts by himself. He completely crushed them. Jiang Zimo and Mu Xinya obtained iron medallions as well. It looks like the 3 experts of the Myriad Fiend Palace's younger generation are not undeserved. The Holy Fire Manor's young Manor Lord obtained an iron medallion as well. Ling Yun has been famous in the southern islands for a long time. It is not strange that he obtained an iron medallion so early. Some of the young experts who had been famous for a long time obtained an iron medallion and leaped out of Wrestling City. The moment these people entered the arena, they displayed a strong aura. After killing a few demonic beasts, no more demonic beasts dared to attack them. They went to look for weaker opponents. Their auras grew stronger as they fought. It was a tragedy for those who were weaker. The number of demonic beasts surrounding them increased. The originally difficult situation became even more difficult to deal with. Several people did not even have time to give up before the demonic beasts tore them to shreds and devoured them. Xiao Chen fought 4 demonic beasts alone. He did not even draw the lunar shadow saber. With his strong aura, no demonic beast dared to find trouble with him and take the initiative to attack him. Xiao Chen shifted his target to the other cultivators who were still struggling bitterly. The 2 flame wolves finally fell under Xiao Chen's iron fists. Xiao Chen broke open the corpses of the demonic beasts and discovered that his luck was not ordinary. 4 demonic beasts had actually allowed him to obtain 2 iron plates. However, no matter how many iron medallions there were, 1 was enough. As Xiao Chen prepared to leave, he discovered that Xia Xian and her junior sister were still blocking the attacks of 7 or 8 demonic beasts. Xia Xian already held an iron medallion in her hand. Unfortunately, her junior sister had too little combat experience. She was already flustered when dealing with 2 demonic beasts. When 4 or 5 demonic beasts attacked together, it was even more dangerous. He had no choice but to think of ways to help her deal with them. With Xiao Rou dragging them down, the number of beasts surrounding them increased. Initially, there were 4 beasts, but now, there were 8 of them. If this dragged on and the number of demonic beasts increased, even Xia Xian would find it hard to escape. Xiao Chen hesitated for a while before deciding to help. No matter what, when he first arrived at Heavenly Spring Island, Xia Xian had given him a good impression. Furthermore, this was not something that would require much effort. If he could help, he would. There was no harm in making more friends in the future. Bang! Xiao Chen pushed off the ground heavily and leaped into the air. With the help of the blood flame shoes, his figure moved at lightning speed. With a whip kick, he sent a demonic beast surrounding Xia Xian flying. Half of the demonic beast's head caved in. When it fell to the ground, it could not be more dead. This shocked Xia Xian and Xiao Rou. Seeing Xiao Chen help, Xia Xian could not help but rejoice. She said, "Many thanks, Brother Xiao, for helping." Xiao Chen nodded gently and did not say anything more. He tossed an iron plate to Xia Xian and said, "Bring your junior sister away. I'll hold off these demonic beasts first." When Xia Xian heard this, she rejected, "No way. There are still 7 demonic beasts. How can you hold them off by yourself? Even if you can, you will have to expose some of your trump cards." "That's fine. I have the advantage of speed. There is no need to be afraid. You go first." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and sent out a few sharp fist winds, attracting the attention of the 7 demonic beasts. The pale Xiao Rou heaved a sigh of relief. When she saw Xiao Chen attracting the attention of the demonic beasts alone, she felt somewhat embarrassed. She had not expected that Xiao Chen, whom she had looked down on, had already obtained 2 iron plates. He even gave one to her. Now, he even helped her lure all the demonic beasts away. Seeing Xiao Chen lead the demonic beasts far away, Xia Xian said to Xiao Rou, "The other demonic beasts are about to surround us. Take the iron plate and leave first. I will help him kill the demonic beasts. No matter what, I cannot owe him too much." Xiao Rou was not insensible. She knew that she would not be of much help. So, she quickly took the iron plate and flew away. The 7 demonic beasts launched all sorts of attacks at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen used his advantage in speed to dodging most of the attacks. As for the few attacks that were too concentrated, Xiao Chen simply blocked them. The larger the attack range, the weaker it would be. There was no problem blocking them. Ka Xie. Just as Xiao Chen was about to break through, a sharp sword light flashed. Blood spurted out, and a flame wolf's head flew into the air. However, Xia Xian turned back and landed beside Xiao Chen. Xia Xian did not say anything. Her sword light danced, and she danced around like a butterfly. She moved about the demonic beasts as she pleased, appearing graceful and natural. However, her sword qi was very dense and imposing. Furthermore, it was complemented by sword intent. Its might was startling, unlike her movement technique. When Xia Xian swung her sword, no matter how strong the demonic beasts were, they would be significantly injured. The weaker ones would have their limbs chopped off. This was Xia Xian's true strength. Without Xiao Rou holding her back, the first batch of people to obtain the iron plate would definitely have Xia Xian's name on it. Xiao Chen did not intend to leave immediately. He clenched his fists and relied on his strength and the strong defense of his physical body to fight the demonic beasts. With the 2 of them working together, the 7 demonic beasts slowly fell. The 2 of them took some time to extract their demonic cores. In the end, they discovered that the 7 demonic beasts did not even have an iron plate. Xia Xian felt somewhat fortunate as she said, "Fortunately, you helped me deliver an iron plate. Otherwise, after so much effort, we would not even have obtained an iron plate." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Sometimes, luck is just like that. It is hard to say. Let's go." Xiao. Just at this moment, a man landed beside the 2 of them in a hurry. He smiled at them and said, "Help me block them for a while. I'll leave first." The expressions of the 2 of them changed. They saw 10-odd demonic beasts chasing after them aggressively. This fellow had actually used Xiao Chen and Xia Xian as a shield. The lines on the blood flame shoes suddenly lit up. Xiao Chen's speed increased to Mach 4. With a "xiao" sound, he arrived in front of that person. Before that person's astonished gaze, Xiao Chen kicked out and said expressionlessly, "Scram." Xiao Chen's speed was too fast. That person did not even have a chance to react. The kick struck his chest and sent him flying back into the encirclement of the demonic beasts. Xia Xian took advantage of this opportunity and dashed forward. The two of them flew out of the wrestling ring one after the other and arrived at the spectator stand specially prepared for the participants. In the spectator stands, there were already 100 people who had obtained an iron medallion. They sized up Xiao Chen for a while before returning their attention to the wrestling ring. In the wrestling ring, 60 or 70 people were bitterly holding on. Forced by the situation, they had to work together to fight against the remaining 300-odd demonic beasts. Actually, as long as these people jumped out of the wrestling ring, even if they did not have an iron medallion, they would not receive any punishment. At most, they would automatically forfeit. Dozens of corpses littered the wrestling ring. Some demonic beasts cruelly devoured these corpses as tens of thousands of people watched. Dying without a complete corpse, reduced to food, this was the most tragic fall of geniuses. When Xiao Chen saw this, a ripple appeared in his calm heart. In this budding age of geniuses, geniuses were like fish in the river, emerging in an endless stream. To those talented cultivators, this was the best age. Only in this age could geniuses find a stage that belonged to them. They could shine brightly and leave their names in history. Just like the Tianwu emperor who founded the Tianwu dynasty. Just like the Thunder King from thousands of years ago. Even after tens of thousands of years, they were still remembered by history. This was also the worst age. Normally, the people here would be the ones who led the tide of the age. However, now, even the geniuses that appeared once in 100 years were no different from the crowd. If you did not work hard, you would be eliminated by the times, losing the opportunity to shine on this stage. The owners of the corpses in the wrestling ring had all thought of giving up when they were alive. However, once they gave up on this opportunity, they would be left behind. In this age, they could only be a spectator. To these proud and aloof geniuses, who would be willing to be a nameless spectator? Xiao Chen clenched his right fist tightly and muttered to himself, "The age of geniuses is here. Since I have come to this world, I cannot be a spectator." 300 rank 7 demonic beasts surrounded 67 cultivators. The battle could no longer be described as intense, it was extremely miserable. Another 10 cultivators obtained an iron medallion and broke through the encirclement of the demonic beasts, returning to the crowd. What surprised Xiao Chen was that the cultivator who wanted to use him and Xia Xian as a stepping stone was actually one of these 10 people. After that cultivator arrived, he looked at Xiao Chen with a sullen gaze before slowly walking into the crowd. Xia Xian said, "Don't underestimate him. He is the second disciple of the great Xia nation's Lamenting Valley's Valley Master. His lamenting palm is very powerful." He probably did not want to reveal his trump card, so he delayed obtaining an iron medallion. Xiao Chen nodded in agreement. In reality, he had hidden his strength as well. If he drew his saber, he was confident that he would be one of the top 10 people to obtain an iron medallion. After a while, no one else obtained an iron medallion. Instead, many of the cultivators who persisted died. Gao Yangyu shook his head and said to the people beside him. After a while, 10 half-step martial monarchs landed in the wrestling ring. Their strong auras merged together and pressed down on the rank 7 demonic beasts. Hu Qi. The previously insufferably arrogant rank 7 demonic beasts felt fear before this strong aura. They all retreated. Chapter 437. Dong! 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 The 10 of them did not make a move. They only slowly walked forward and chased the demonic beasts back into the prison. The remaining people knew that they no longer stood a chance. Their expressions were very dispirited. They all left the wrestling ring through another exit with ashen faces. This was no longer a stage that belonged to them. Gao Yangyu withdrew his gaze and looked at the crowd. He smiled and said, "This really exceeded my expectations. There are actually more than 100 people who qualified. The Rank A wrestling ring has never seen such a grand scene before. The wrestling ring will officially begin in 2 hours. According to the rules, you will all receive rewards based on the number of victories. Someone will inform you about this later. Now, go and register your medal medallion numbers." A manservant of the wrestling ring led the crowd to a basement and started to register. At the same time, there was someone who gave everyone a rough explanation of the wrestling ring's reward system. For every victory, they would receive 300 inferior grade spirit stones. It did not seem like much, but if they could win continuously, the reward would be doubled. After 2 consecutive victories, the reward would be 600 inferior grade spirit stones for the second match, 900 for the third match, 1,200 for the fourth match, and 1,500 for the fifth match. If a person could win continuously, winning 100 matches in a row, the reward would be astronomical. Just thinking about it was horrifying. No wonder the wrestling ring could make so many cultivators go crazy. Under the stimulation of the huge rewards, there would be some intense battles. Originally, the people who did not pay much attention to the rewards became excited when they heard about the rules of consecutive victories. This was not a small sum. No matter which sect or power it was, they would not be able to give out medial grade spirit stones without limit. However, Xiaochen felt that it was not that simple. If there really was a cultivator who could win so many matches in a row, the wrestling ring would suffer a huge loss. Indeed, that person continued, haha. Don't think that consecutive victories are that simple. The current record is 60 consecutive victories. Furthermore, no one has been able to achieve that in the past 100 years. The registration did not take long. There were still 2 hours before the official wrestling ring started. Everyone closed their eyes and recuperated, recovering to their peak condition. In a tall tower in the dueling ring, Gao Yangyu held the registration information of the crowd and distributed it to the surrounding old men. Find a few special people and advertise them. Just say that these people have a chance of breaking the 60-win streak. I want the bets on these people to reach 50 million medial grade spirit stones within 3 days. The few old men said awkwardly, City Lord Gao, will people believe this kind of propaganda? Gao Yangyu laughed loudly, can I trouble you to read through the information first? These are all the peak geniuses of the various nations. This wrestling ring is the first round of selection for the ancient desolate tower. If you spread this news, I estimate that the ticket sales will double. After saying that, Gao Yangyu revealed a somewhat depressed expression. He slapped his forehead and sighed softly, unfortunately, I only received the notice a week ago. Furthermore, the rules state that I cannot leak this information in advance. Otherwise, the spirit stones we earned this time would be enough for us to rest for 10 years. After that, an old man came over excitedly with a stack of information. He smiled and said, City Lord, what do you think of this person? He is the white-robed bladesman Xiaochen. He once defeated the geniuses of the noble clans in the great Qin nation. He even defeated the outer disciples of the Holy Lands. Previously, he snatched away a peak superior grade demon core in front of 10-odd half-step martial monarchs in the demon battlefield. They are all very good names. With a little packaging, they will be the biggest names. Gao Yangyu received the information and tossed it on the table without even looking at it. He said coldly, don't bother with this brat. No one is allowed to advertise him. Don't ask for the reason. The few old men exchanged glances. They did not understand what Gao Yangyu meant. 2 hours later, everyone had basically recovered. The earlier match was like a warm-up. After stretching their muscles, their bodies had returned to their peak condition. Gao Yangyu did not appear again. Instead, an older, gray-robed old man led everyone out of the basement and back to the spectator stands. The gray-robed old man stood in front and said, there are only 10 matches on the first day. Just consider it a warm-up. In the next 5 days, there will be 18 matches every day. Later, all of you will go up one by one according to your assigned numbers. Xiaochen looked at his own metal medallion. There were the words 15 carved on it. It was an average ranking. Dong! 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 The moment the group walked out of the wrestling ring's passageway, they heard the sound of drums that stirred their hearts. The drums sounded like thunder, beating rhythmically. It was unknown what these drums were made of, but the sound was resonant and grand. It made everyone's blood surge and their fighting spirit soar. They felt like their blood was on fire. Xiao Chen looked up and discovered that the drums were coming from the 4 tall towers around the wrestling ring. With the sound of these drums, the atmosphere of the crowd had already been stirred up. The crowd was very excited and surging endlessly. This is the peak-grade heavenly tone war drum. It is said that it is made from the skin and tendons of the 1,000-year-old flood dragon, a rank 10 spirit beast. With the sound of the drum, it can stimulate one's fighting spirit and erupt out with even greater combat prowess than usual. The outstanding talents who knew their stuff all exclaimed in astonishment. A 1,000-year-old flood dragon was as strong as a peak martial sage. Furthermore, it was omnipotent. It was very hard to find one. The gray-robed old man smiled faintly and said, "This is not the heavenly tone war drum. It is the superior grade golden cauldron war drum. Its function is the same as the heavenly tone valleys, but its effects are much weaker. You are not qualified to bring out the heavenly tone war drum. Only rank S wrestling rings would bring out the heavenly tone war drum." The drumming became even more intense, but the old man did not say anything more. "Who is number 1? Quickly come forward." A young cultivator in the crowd took a deep breath and leaped out of the spectator stands. The drumming instantly stopped. The young cultivator performed a cupped fist salute to the spectator stands and said in a loud voice, "Great Chu Nation's purple brilliant sects Yunping seeks your guidance." The gazes of the tens of thousands of cultivators in the spectator stands immediately focused on Yunping. Countless senses were directed at him. Some people withdrew their senses and shook their heads in disdain. Some people were interested, and some were deciding whether to go down and fight. Xiao. Not long after, a bald cultivator with a sword on his back flew over from the spectator stands in the south. When he landed, he did not make a sound. Clearly, this person's control over his strength had already reached a certain level. Xiao Chen checked this bald cultivator's cultivation. He was a superior grade martial king. However, his aura was extremely vast. This person probably cultivated a superior grade earth-ranked cultivation technique. He should be quite strong. After the two of them performed cupped fist salutes, they immediately started fighting. At this moment, the drums suddenly started to sound. Then, according to the rhythm of the battle, the drums fluctuated. They grasped the audience's heartstrings tightly, causing the tens of thousands of spectators to be affected by the drumming. They formed a formless connection with the battle. It was like they were in the battle. The battle continued for 15 minutes. Yunping easily defeated the bald cultivator. The battle was very ordinary, there was nothing special about it. After the bald cultivator landed, he walked over to Xiao Chen dispiritedly. Then, he handed the gray-robed old man 150 medial-grade spirit stones. The gray-robed old man explained, "The challenger has to hand over half of the spirit stone reward of the challenged. If he wins, he will obtain 300 medial-grade spirit stones." The matches continued. Yunping's aura flourished. He won 9 matches in a row. His reward had already doubled to 2,700 medial-grade spirit stones. This was a significant sum. As long as Yunping won one more match, he would be able to end today's matches perfectly. At the same time, he would be able to obtain 3,000 medial-grade spirit stones. The moment the 9th match ended, someone eagerly jumped into the wrestling ring. This person did not control his strength at all. When this person landed, the ground gave off a loud ping-ping sound, kicking up a large cloud of dust. It was very ostentatious. The person who arrived had a sword at his waist. He had a sinister look on his face. He smiled gently and said, "Yunping, right? I will take your 3,000 medial-grade spirit stones. Remember my name, Xiao Yang." Yunping mocked, "Do you think that is possible?" Dong! The war drums rang out and the two immediately clashed. Sparks flew as their weapons clashed in the air. Xia Xian said softly, "This Yunping's 9 consecutive victories will probably come to an end." The battle had just started. How could Xia Xian come to such a conclusion so quickly? Xiao Chen asked suspiciously, "Why do you say that?" Xia Xian smiled gently and explained, I have been to Wrestling City a few times. This Xiao Yang is quite famous here. He likes to make a move when his opponent has just obtained 9 consecutive victories. He rarely fails. Hence, he is nicknamed the 10-Victory Terminator. 10-Victory Terminator? Unexpectedly, there is such a nickname. Xiao Chen laughed hoarsely. It looks like without some strength, it would be difficult to obtain such a nickname. Xia Xian nodded and said, he has been a superior grade martial king for a long time already. His attainments in sword techniques are no weaker than a regular genius. The most important thing is that the state he comprehended is very strange. It is similar to the state of Lamenting Valley, it can affect one's emotions. This was the first time Xiao Chen heard of a state that could affect one's emotions. He could not help but feel interested as he watched the battlefield carefully. As the two spoke, they had already exchanged 10 moves. Yun Ping could tell that his opponent was strong. He also knew that he had exhausted a lot of essence after fighting 9 consecutive battles. It was not good to drag this out. Hence, Yun Ping used every move he made. He wanted to end the battle quickly. However, Xiao Yang appeared very relaxed. He moved around like a monkey, choosing not to clash head-on with Yun Ping. He continuously exhausted Yun Ping's energy and patience. Yun Ping tried to catch his opponent a few times to force him into a head-on battle. However, Xiao Yang nimbly escaped. Xiao Chen muttered to himself as he looked at the other party's movement technique and analyzed it in his mind. What an exquisite movement technique! It seems like he can sense the direction of his opponent's attacks from any part of his body. However, it is useless against my Blue Dragon Cloud soaring art. In the face of absolute speed, he cannot use tricks to break through force. Chapter 438. It's time to end this. Lose. Xiao Yang, who had been dodging for a long time, suddenly stopped. His eyes turned incredibly sharp as he thrust his sword forward. The sword whistled, creating a long trail of fiery red light in the air. That was an incredibly dense fire-attributed essence. However, Yun Ping did not panic. Instead, he laughed, "You are seeking your own death. I have been waiting for you for a long time. You should be the one to lose." Cha! Cha! Just as Yun Ping was about to use his powerful killing move, he suddenly felt fear in his heart. When he saw his opponent's eyes, he felt even more fear. There was no reason for this fear. It lingered on, throwing Yun Ping's mental state into chaos. Originally, he only needed 3 breaths of time to execute his killing move. However, he did not manage to do so for a long time. Compared to the chaotic Yun Ping, Xiao Yang's aura was even more condensed. Xiao Yang knocked away Yun Ping's weapon with his sword. Then, his sword, which contained surging fire-attributed essence, exploded on Yun Ping's chest. Bang! A bloody hole appeared in Yun Ping's chest as he fell to the ground. Blood leaked out from the corner of his mouth, and a cold sword rested on his neck. Yun Ping was astonished, he could not accept such a result. However, Xiao Yang laughed loudly and said, "I said before, your victory ends here. Come again tomorrow. Pray that you do not meet me then." Xiao Yang sheathed his sword and walked over to the grey-robed old man. He took away the 3,000 inferior Great Spirit stones. Before he left, he casually glanced at Xiao Chen. When Xiao Chen felt that gaze, he felt it was strange. It was because that gaze was not friendly. Xia Xian said suspiciously, "This fellow seems to be targeting you. Did you offend him in some way?" Xiao Chen said indifferently, "I'm not sure. However, I am not afraid. I have already figured out what is going on with his state. Aside from that strange state, this fellow was actually not much stronger than Yun Ping." However, Yun Ping appeared very anxious because of the last battle today. He had wanted to end the fight in one move. In the end, he was led by the nose by his opponent. In the end, when Yun Ping became completely restless, the other party suddenly attacked and hit him with one strike. Yun Ping's defeat was not undeserved. Dong dong dong. The war drums continued to beat. The battles for numbers 1 to 14 were in full swing. In the following battles, there were a few exciting ones. Everyone who came out won at least half of their matches, but none of them managed to win 10 matches in a row. If they didn't lose a match halfway through, then they would lose the crucial final match due to their bad mentality and be ended by their opponents. Who's number 15? Hurry up. Finally, it was Xiao Chen's turn. Xiao Chen gently touched the ground with his toes and landed steadily on the drill ground. I am the great Qin nation's Xiao Chen. Everyone, please enlighten me. Xiao Chen cupped his hands and said to everyone. Xiao. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure quickly landed in the wrestling ring. When he landed, the ground trembled violently. It was extremely ostentatious. It was Xiao Yang, who had defeated Yun Ping and was known as the 10 Winds Terminator. Xiao Yang sized up Xiao Chen. When he saw that Xiao Chen did not carry a weapon, only a pair of black gloves, he curled his lips and said, "A fist master? That's good too. I have not fought with a fist master in a long time. I, Xiao Yang, will fight you." Strange, why is Xiao Yang going down? This fellow rarely appears during the first match of others. I have not seen Xiao Yang in a few years. Xiao Yang appearing in the first match is really rare. Indeed, when did his character change? 300 medial grade spirit stones should not interest him. This brat might have offended Xiao Yang before. This brat is in for a treat. Losing in the first match will be a huge blow to his morale. The cultivators in the spectator stands frequently came to Wrestling City. They were very familiar with Xiao Yang. When they saw him going down in the first match, they were confused. In a room at the top of a tall tower behind the wrestling ring, Gao Yangyu looked expressionlessly at the figures of Xiao Chen and Xiao Yang. He muttered, "Brat, don't blame me for being ruthless. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for slapping Li Xiuzhu in the face. That old fellow is famous for being petty." An old man at the side could not help but say, "City Lord Gao, are you really going to let this brat lose every match? Do you want him to lose 100 matches?" Gao Yangyu shrugged his shoulders and said, "Li Xiuzhu has already spoken. What do you expect me to do? Don't forget, he is in charge of the Heavenly Extermination Union's taxes. There is nothing wrong with offending someone. This brat deserves to be unlucky. Just follow my instructions." The old man nodded slightly. However, he shook his head and smiled bitterly to himself. Losing 100 matches, this brat is truly unprecedented. With such a great humiliation, he will probably be crippled for life. This Li Xiuzhu is too ruthless. He actually thought of such a vicious plan. As Xiao Chen looked at the evil expression on Xiao Yang's face, he did not feel any waves in his heart. Now that Xiao Yang was in this wrestling ring, no matter who he was or why he came here, Xiao Chen only cared about one thing. That was an enemy. There was no need to think about anything else. All he had to do was knock Xiao Yang off the wrestling ring. "I'm sorry. Given my status, it is indeed unfair for me to make a move against you. However, I was entrusted to do so. Don't blame me." Right after Xiao Yang spoke, he looked sharply at Xiao Chen's reaction. He wanted to see through this calm youth. However, Xiao Yang was disappointed. From the start to the end, Xiao Chen's mental state did not fluctuate at all. His expression was incredibly calm, as if he did not care about his opponent at all. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "There is no need for you to apologize. You are not qualified to apologize either." Ha ha. Interesting. The corners of Xiao Yang's lips curled up. He smiled and said, "I want to see what capabilities you have to say such big words." Dong! 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 The war drums, which had been silent for a long time, finally started beating passionately once again. It made everyone's blood surge and their spirits surge. When Xiao Chen was in the wrestling ring, he finally felt the might of the golden cauldron drum. The sound of the drum resounded in his ears, and his blood surged uncontrollably. Xiao Chen's aura gathered on its own, rising continuously. It was like he was in an ancient battlefield. His heart was filled with lofty aspirations, and he only wanted to fight with all his might. However, if he did that, he would fall for the wrestling ring's trick. The purpose of the Golden Cauldron drum was to make the challengers go all out in every match, going all out without realizing it. Every match would result in a lot of unnecessary exhaustion. In the long run, one's essence would be exhausted, and it would be very difficult to continue winning. Xiao Chen's vast spiritual sense turned into an ancient bell in his sea of consciousness. It gave off a drawn-out chime, and he immediately calmed down. Hu Qi. After observing for a long time, Xiao Yang could not find any openings in Xiao Chen. He took a step forward and drew his sword. He had no choice but to take the initiative to attack. Xiao Chen did not dodge. He took a step forward and punched. A pure energy clashed with Xiao Yang's sword. Bang! Bang! The fist wind and the sword qi clashed continuously, giving off explosions in the air. Xiao Yang passed through the shockwaves created by the explosions and thrust his sword at Xiao Chen's face. Xiao Chen tilted his head slightly and dodged this sword. When the sword brushed past his face, he used 2 fingers on his right hand and flicked the sword heavily. Boom! A huge force came from Xiao Yang's fingers, spreading from the tip of the sword to the hilt. The sword started to tremble. Xiao Yang felt like the sword in his hand was trying to struggle free. His body could not help but be pulled forward by the force of the sword. What a strong force! Xiao Yang had not expected Xiao Chen to be so strong. He did not seem like an inferior-grade martial king at all. Xiao Yang was caught off guard and suffered a small disadvantage. However, he did not panic. Xiao Chen accurately calculated the moment Xiao Chen landed. He shouted and clenched his right hand into a fist, punching out. Xiao Yang had a relaxed expression, he was not too shocked. He executed that strange movement technique again. The instant Xiao Chen moved, Xiao Yang sensed the direction of his attack. Xiao Yang pushed off the ground and quickly retreated in the opposite direction. This strange movement technique, which allowed Xiao Yang to predict the future, had caused Yunping's killing moves to miss several times during their fight. Now, Xiao Yang used it on Xiao Chen, dodging in advance. Xiao Chen stopped and stored up power in his fist. He looked at the retreating Xiao Yang and smiled gently, "Can you dodge?" Blood Flame Shoes, activate. Xiao. Xiao Chen's speed instantly increased to Mach 3. 5. Xiao Yang had just stabilized his footing when he discovered an intense fist wind, accompanied by the roars of a tiger and a dragon, flying at him. Retreat. Xiao Yang was startled. He executed his strange movement technique again. He perfectly calculated the direction of Xiao Chen's next attack and quickly retreated in the opposite direction. However, Xiao Chen stopped and changed his direction. Then, he immediately attacked again. Boom! 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 Accompanied by the roars of a tiger and a dragon, Xiao Chen punched out with both fists. The fist wind was like a torrential storm as it flew at the retreating Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang executed that strange movement technique to its limits. However, no matter what he did, he could not shake off Xiao Chen. Every time he retreated, he would suffer a sharp fist wind. Xiao Yang brandished his sword and a fiery light flickered. Although he managed to negate a portion of the fist energy, the remaining fist energy struck his body. The accumulated injuries could not be underestimated. When the many cultivators in the spectator stands saw this scene, astonishment flashed in their eyes. They had not expected this. The originally expected scene of Xiao Yang easily crushing his opponent did not happen. Instead, a nameless brat pressured the 10 victories Terminator into a miserable state. Scram! Xiao Yang finally realized that his movement technique was useless against Xiao Chen. After Xiao Yang made up his mind, his sword lit up with a fiery light. Then, he clashed with Xiao Chen's fist wind. Xiao Yang accurately calculated the force of Xiao Chen's fist wind. If Xiao Chen dared to clash head-on, he was confident of inflicting a great loss on him. Xiao Chen said indifferently, "You are the one who should scram." The purple qi whirlpool spun rapidly. Surging essence poured into Xiao Chen's right fist through his widened meridians. Boom! The instant the essence and vital qi merged, an intense wind burst out of Xiao Chen's fist, stirring up small tornadoes in the air. Xiao Chen's punch instantly contained 350,000 kilograms of force. Bang! 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 The rapid increase in strength exceeded Xiao Yang's expectations. It was like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. It shattered the fiery red essence energy on the sword, causing it to crumble and fall apart. Chapter 439. Xiao Chen's aura flourished. Dragons and tigers circled around him, roaring endlessly. His fists danced, and in an instant, he had punched more than 100 times. Bang! Xiao Yang's protective essence energy could no longer withstand it. The powerful force shattered it. Xiao Chen smiled coldly and knocked away his opponent's sword light with one punch. Then, he punched his opponent's chest with the other. Xiao Yang vomited a mouthful of blood and fell from the sky. His face was pale, without any color. Damn it! State of fear. Xiao Yang said with a malevolent expression as he wiped the blood from the corner of his lips. Woo! Woo! A strange aura spread out from Xiao Yang's body. Soon, it encased Xiao Chen. When Xiao Yang felt that Xiao Chen was within the range of his qi field, a cocky smile appeared on his face. As long as Xiao Chen entered this qi field, he would not be able to escape. As long as Xiao Chen entered this aura, he was confident of defeating even a peak superior grade martial king. Even if an inferior grade martial king cultivated a heaven-ranked cultivation technique and had surging essence, he would still be able to defeat him easily. Xiao Chen felt a strange energy like a sponge, trying to penetrate his mind. However, the ancient bell formed by Xiao Chen's spiritual sense in his sea of consciousness shook gently and shattered this sponge-like energy. He did not feel anything, it had no effect on Xiao Chen. Indeed, it is as I guessed. A state that can affect emotions definitely involves mental energy. Xiao Chen's mental energy is comparable to that of a martial monarch. Before Xiao Chen, Xiao Yang's state of fear was simply not sufficient. The drumbeats reverberated endlessly, keeping a firm grasp on the rhythm of the battle. It was as if they sensed that the battle had reached its most intense moment. The drummer seemed to be exerting all the strength in his body. Every beat of the drum struck the deepest part of the hearts of the crowd. Everyone's hearts pounded, they were extremely nervous. Fall for me. Xiao Yang smashed the ground with his left palm and his body shot up. Sparks danced on his sword and quickly turned into a blazing flame, burning endlessly. Xiao Chen's expression was incredibly calm. He watched Xiao Yang fly over and attack with all his might. Soon, he found the weakness of this move. Bang! When he was 3 meters away from Xiao Chen calmly kicked out his foot. The tip of his foot accurately kicked the wrist of the man who was holding the sword. His wrist bone immediately shattered, and the long sword fell to the ground with a clang. The surging fire attribute Yuan Qi immediately turned into countless sparks that scattered around the two of them. His right leg, which was still in the air, did not land on the ground. Instead, it slid downwards, and with a light hook, it landed on Xiao Yang's chin. Xiao Yang spat out another mouthful of blood. This kick sent Xiao Yang tumbling to the ground. Impossible! How could you resist my domain of fear? You must have used some sort of cheating method. Xiao Yang said crazily as he placed both his hands on the ground. Xiao Chen could not be bothered to say more. He directly kicked him 100 meters away, and he slid down a distance on the ground. The drumming stopped abruptly. The result of this battle was self-evident. Bang! Up in the tall tower, Gao Yangyu, who had been watching the battle closely, was enraged when he saw the result. He slammed his palm on the table made of sandalwood. Damn it! Why is there something wrong with this Xiao Yang? Normally, he can defeat a peak superior grade martial king. Now, he cannot even deal with an insignificant inferior grade martial king. The old man beside Gao Yangyu muttered, Xiaoyang's 2 trump cards, the butterfly steps and the state of fear, were completely countered by this fellow. It is not strange that he lost. After all, aside from these 2 points, Xiaoyang is only an ordinary superior grade martial king. Gao Yangyu waved his hand and said, I don't care how you arrange it. Since we cannot let him lose 100 matches, we have to make him lose at least 40 matches. Otherwise, we will not be able to answer to Li Xiuzhu. Gao Yangyu's original plan was to send Xiaoyang out and severely injure Xiao Chen in the first match. This would greatly reduce his strength. Then, he could easily make Xiao Chen lose 10 matches in a row. However, the situation had turned around. Xiao Chen did not suffer any serious injuries and easily defeated Xiaoyang. His plan to lose 100 matches in a row was completely ruined. The old man could clearly feel that this Xiao Chen was not easy to deal with. When he heard Gao Yangyu's angry words, he felt immense pressure in his heart. City Lord Gao, how about this? We will not send out any of our people for today's 10 matches. Let him fight 10 matches first. How about we send someone to deal with him after the Elders' Hall thoroughly analyzes his strength? The elder suggested. Gao Yangyu's expression turned sullen and his thoughts raced. After a while, he said, we will do as you say. However, we cannot neglect the matters of the others. We still have to advertise them. No matter what, earning money is the most important. Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon. Xiao Chen crossed his arms and formed a strong wall of qi. A tiger and dragon circled around him, blocking his opponent's strong attack. Dragon Hissing Tiger Roar. Defeat. Using the momentum and energy of Crouching Tiger Hidden Dragon, Xiao Chen brought out the might of the Great Dragon Tiger Fist to its limits. The ferocious fist energy caused his opponent to vomit blood. The war drums stopped, but the hearts of the many cultivators in the spectator stands did not stop. What a fellow! This is already his 9th consecutive victory. After defeating Xiaoyang, he became more and more valiant. He did not show any signs of exhaustion. Unexpectedly, he dual cultivates the physical body and essence. Each match is stronger than the one before. I can't tell what his strongest state is. Originally, I thought that Xiaoyang lost because he was careless. It looks like his defeat was not undeserved. After defeating Xiaoyang, Xiao Chen's momentum soared. He won another 8 matches in a row, setting off the first small climax of the wrestling ring. As the war drums beat, the emotions of the spectators were stirred up. The sounds of discussion did not stop for a long time. It is possible that he will be the first person to obtain 10 consecutive victories. He is much stronger than Yunping, who went up first. Let's wait and see who will choose to go up first. After the consecutive battles in the wrestling ring, Xiao Chen's fighting spirit was completely stimulated. However, his eyes remained calm. No matter how loud the war drums were, Xiao Chen maintained his composure and put in as much effort as he could. After a minute, Xiao Chen's 10th challenger finally arrived. He was also a cultivator who specialized in close combat. He was a peak superior grade martial king. However, his cultivation technique did not seem to be anything special. Although his cultivation realm was high, his aura did not seem very strong. He should only be a medial grade earth-ranked cultivation technique. Good martial techniques were hard to find, but cultivation techniques were hard to find. This was a very common saying in the continent. Even in the strong sects and clans, they only had a few superior grade earth-ranked cultivation techniques. Peak earth-class cultivation techniques were even rarer. As for heaven-class cultivation techniques, they were only passed down from generation to generation in a few top sections. Bai Ming Feng, please advise me. The challenger performed a cupped fist salute and reported his name. As the war drums sounded out, the two immediately started fighting. Bang! 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 The two of them used their fists and feet to fight. Hence, the fight was very intense. Punches and feet flew back and forth, every move was a head-on clash. However, the other party's attainments in fist techniques were much higher than Xiao Chen's. His coordination with his fists and feet was much more agile than Xiao Chen's. Soon, Xiao Chen received several punches. However, the attacks that Xiao Chen landed on his opponent were barely half of his opponent's. The Great Dragon Tiger Fist was only a medial grade earth-ranked martial technique, it was not considered a peak martial technique. It was not difficult to understand why an expert proficient in close combat would end up in such a situation. If not for the black gloves increasing Xiao Chen's attack speed, the situation would have been even more unsightly. However, Xiao Chen had the advantage in terms of his strong physical defense. His vital qi and essence far surpassed his opponent's. The force of one punch was equivalent to 5 or 6 punches from his opponent. When Xiao Chen's essence and vital qi merged, he could force his opponent back. After exchanging more than 100 moves, Bai Mingfeng's complexion turned pale. Blood leaked out of the corner of his lips. Although Xiao Chen was not in a good state, it was still within the limits of what his body could endure. The cleansing of a heaven-ranked cultivation technique had strengthened his flesh, bones, and meridians. This was no joke. I'm not fighting anymore. I admit defeat. After exchanging another 200 moves, Bai Mingfeng's complexion was completely drained of blood. The qi and blood in his body surged. If he continued, he would suffer severe internal injuries. Xiao Chen withdrew his hand and retreated, no longer attacking. I am not weaker than you. It is just that your physical body and cultivation technique are slightly stronger than mine. If I had the same physical condition as you, even 10 of you would not be a match for me. Bai Mingfeng wiped off the blood from the corner of his lips, feeling extremely dissatisfied. Xiao Chen said indifferently, a win is a win. A loss is a loss. Why are there so many reasons? Xiao Chen found Bai Mingfeng's words laughable. The accomplishments of his physical body could not be explained in one sentence. Before the age of 16, Xiao Chen could not condense a martial spirit. All the spiritual energy he absorbed poured into his flesh and bones, laying a good foundation for his body. However, because of this, he was mocked for close to 6 years. In the underground world of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Song Ke nearly killed him with one palm strike, nearly causing him to lose his soul. After Xiao Chen obtained an earth-ranked body tempering cultivation technique, he finally stepped into the threshold of physical cultivation. Every time he fought for a spirit herb, there were all sorts of dangerous battles. After Xiao Chen obtained a heaven-ranked body tempering cultivation technique, he suffered 3 types of inhumane torture. However, he endured all of them. The path of physical body cultivation was filled with thorns and thorns. Every step was extremely difficult. Xiao Chen had relied on his strong willpower to persevere until now. How could it be as simple as the other party made it out to be? What nonsense! Bai Mingfeng tossed over a box of spirit stones and smiled without a care in the world. Haha, it is as you said. The loser does not need to find excuses. However, your good days will come to an end tomorrow. You can take the spirit stones away. I can't be bothered to go over. Xiao Chen committed the other party's words to heart. He did not say anything more. He put away the spirit stones and headed for the spectator stands. Although Xiao Chen felt suspicious, he was sure that someone was targeting him. Xiao Yang and this Bai Mingfeng were sent by that person. However, if Xiao Chen took the initiative to ask this fellow, he would not get any results. So, there was no need to ask. When the grey-robed old man saw Xiao Chen return, he handed him the remaining 1,500 spirit stones. He smiled and said, "Congratulations, little brother, you are the first to obtain 10 consecutive victories." Xiao Chen received the spirit stones and thanked the grey-robed old man. Then, he walked to the back of the crowd. So. As he walked, Xiao Chen could feel many gazes on him. There were also all sorts of perceptions trying to probe him. Chapter 440. Strange, he is clearly only an inferior grade martial king. Why is he so ridiculously strong? The outstanding talents of the various nations withdrew their perception. Doubts filled their hearts. The strength that Xiaochen displayed had already raised their guard. He was definitely a strong competitor in the fight for the ancient desolate tower. They had no choice but to pay more attention to him. Xia Xian, Jiang Zimo, and Mu Xinya all congratulated Xiaochen one after another. The matches continued. For a long time, no one obtained 10 consecutive victories. This continued until the beast-taming abode's Pei Xiaoxian appeared. He finally became the second person to obtain 10 consecutive victories. Furthermore, Pei Xiaoxian had obtained 10 consecutive victories even more effortlessly than Xiaochen. This attracted even more attention. In every battle, Xiaochen summoned out 7 or 8 high-ranked spirit beasts. He did not have to do anything himself. Instead, he hid at the side and controlled the spirit beasts to surround his opponent. Xiaochen easily won every battle. He did not exhaust much of his energy. After that, the 3 people who appeared, Ding Fengqiu, Jiang Zimo, and Mu Xinya, obtained 10 consecutive victories. This brought the atmosphere of the wrestling ring to a climax. Each of these people was more incredible than the last. Each victory was more dazzling than the last. They completely suppressed Xiaochen's brilliance. Xiaochen smiled faintly. He did not care too much about this kind of reputation. As long as he could obtain victory using the least amount of energy, it was sufficient. The matches continued until the sky turned dark. Only then did the matches of more than 100 people come to an end. A total of 7 people obtained 10 consecutive victories. They were Xiaochen, Jiang Zimo, Ding Fengqiu, Mu Xinya, Pei Xiaoxian, Xia Xian, and the holy fire manners Ling Yun, whom Xiaochen was wary of. However, Ling Yun did not pay any special attention to Xiaochen because of the dispute between Xiaochen and Old Qin. It was clear that he did not care. Not far from the wrestling ring, there was a small and exquisite courtyard. This was where the crowd would be staying for the next 5 days. Night fell completely, and the sky was filled with dazzling starlight. Xiaochen sat cross-legged in his courtyard and cleaned up the hidden injuries from today's matches. In every battle, no matter how strong a martial artist was, he or she would leave behind more or less hidden injuries. If they were not cleaned up in time, they would become hidden injuries. At that time, it would be very troublesome to deal with them. Xiaochen had developed this good habit a long time ago. After every battle, he would promptly clean up his internal injuries. An hour later, Xiaochen opened his eyes. All the internal injuries in his body had recovered under the nourishment of the essence qi. Xiaochen was not in a hurry to sleep. He still had many things to do. He slowly replayed the battle during the day in his mind. Thinking back to the beginning, he got up and started practicing alone in the room. He wanted to see what he didn't do well enough so that he could be better prepared the next time he encountered the same situation. Although my physical body is strong, I can't keep up with the martial techniques of my fists and legs. The medial grade earth-ranked Great Dragon Tiger Fist can no longer keep up with my rhythm. In the end, Xiaochen concluded. The last battle with Bai Mingfeng was the best proof. When facing a cultivator who also specialized in fists and legs, Xiaochen was at a complete disadvantage in terms of techniques. If it were not for his strong physical body, he might have had to draw his saber. Xiaochen muttered to himself, after this matter is over, it looks like I need to find a peak earth-ranked fist technique to practice. It was already late. Xiaochen did not dwell on this. He took out 2 medial-grade spirit stones and held them in his hands. Then, he entered into a state of cultivation. The next morning, Xiaochen woke up early. The moment he left the courtyard, he ran into Xia Xian and Xiaochen, who had gone out together. After they greeted each other, the 3 of them headed to the wrestling ring together. Along the way, Xiao Rou did not seem to be in good spirits. She had only won 3 matches yesterday. Her lack of combat experience was a fatal flaw. This was especially so when she met with cultivators with dense killing qi. Before the fight even started, she was already afraid. However, others would not be able to help her. If she could endure it, she would be able to grow quickly in the wrestling ring. If she could not endure it, she would not be able to walk out of the shadow of defeat. It would be difficult for her to improve in the future. Whether it was a blessing or a disaster depended on her. Xiao Chen, I heard some news about you, Xia Xian suddenly said just as they were about to enter the wrestling ring. Xiao Chen stopped and said, is it about someone taking special care of me in the wrestling ring? Xia Xian nodded. She had a worried expression on her face as she said, Li Xiuzhu is famous in the Heavenly Extermination Union for seeking revenge for the smallest grievance. He is very narrow-minded. Back then, when you embarrassed him in front of everyone, he already spoke to Gao Yangyu. Indeed, it was Li Xiuzhu's doing. It was as Xiao Chen had guessed. Thank you. However, half-step martial monarchs cannot participate in the rank A wrestling ring. It should not be a problem for me to obtain 60 victories. Xia Xian shook her head and said, it is not as simple as you think. In order to prevent people from obtaining too many consecutive victories, the wrestling ring has a special group of cultivators below half-step martial monarch to snipe the participants. Although these people are not half-step martial monarchs, they all have their own consummate skills. Just like Xiao Yang, there are also some old monsters that have lived for more than 100 years. They are truly undefeatable people below half-step martial monarch. Xia Xian continued, think about Gao Yangyu. If he specifically targets you and sends someone to severely injure you in the first match of the day, what will happen to the next 10 odd matches? Seeing that Xiao Chen did not seem to mind, Xiao said, my senior sister has already told you so much. Why are you not worried at all? Xiao Chen smiled bitterly and helplessly, I am very worried. However, there is no need to show it on my face. Furthermore, worrying is useless. I will deal with whatever comes my way. In any case, I must obtain the 20 spots in the ancient desolate tower. No one can stop me. Thank you for reminding me. Let's go in. Xia Xian sighed softly to herself. It was indeed as Xiao Chen said. So what if I worry? It will not solve the problem. Everyone else had already arrived at the spectator stands reserved for the participants of the wrestling ring. Xiao Chen found a desolate corner. After he sat down, he ignored the gazes of the others and sat down cross-legged. Then, he started to cultivate the firmament body tempering art's fourth layer. Is there any use in clinging at the last minute? When the beast taming abodes Pei Xiaoxian saw this scene, he could not help but laugh. The others shook their heads as well, expressing their disagreement. What could they do during the day? They might as well observe their opponent's strength. Even Jiang Zimo and Ding Fengqiu felt that there was no need. Unless they wanted to make a breakthrough, cultivating now would be useful. However, that was not the case for Xiao Chen. Furthermore, after advancing to Martial King, it was not easy to break through a bottleneck. There were many geniuses who could not break through even after half a year. After watching the wrestling rings for a day, Xiao Chen had a rough understanding of everyone's strength. If not for Xia Xian, Xiao Chen might have continued watching for another day. However, he now felt a sense of danger. Xiao Chen would never fight a battle he was not confident of winning. Only by breaking through to the firmament body tempering art's fourth layer would he be confident of obtaining 60 victories. Thus, from now on, he could not waste any time. As for what others thought, why should he care? Dong! 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 Amid the drumming, Xiao Chen's mental state was as calm as a lake. There were no fluctuations at all. He focused on cultivating the firmament body tempering art's fourth layer. Xiao Chen separated a strand of his spiritual sense and placed it on the gray-robed old man. Cultivating was one thing, but he could not forget about the wrestling rings. As Xiao Chen circulated his vital qi throughout his body, strands of hot energy came from the top of his head. That was the excess energy that came from circulating his vital qi. Time slowly went by. Xiao Chen turned a deaf ear to the noise and liveliness of the wrestling ring. It was like he was in a forest, quiet and peaceful. Number 15, go up quickly. After some time, Xiao Chen's strand of spiritual sense heard the old man's voice. Then, he slowly opened his eyes. When the gray-robed old man saw the calm Xiao Chen, a strange look flashed in his eyes. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he did not say anything. Standing in the wrestling ring, Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute to the surroundings and said, "I am the great Qin nation's Xiao Chen. Everyone, please enlighten me." In the tall tower in the distance, Gao Yangyu watched expressionlessly as Xiao Chen entered the wrestling ring. He said to the old man beside him, "How is the person you mentioned? Are you confident of severely injuring him in the first match?" According to the rules of the wrestling ring, everyone could only fight twice in a day. Although Gao Yangyu had hired many experts, the wrestling ring did not have enough strength. Although Gao Yangyu had hired many experts, there were many participants. Furthermore, each participant had to fight 18 matches. It was impossible to place all the experts he hired on Xiao Chen. Thus, the first match was the most crucial. As long as he could severely injure Xiao Chen in the first match, Gao Yangyu would not have to waste his resources on the remaining matches. For the sake of the Spirit Stone reward, the spectators would also fight. Defeating the severely injured Xiao Chen would not be a problem. If Gao Yangyu lost 18 matches in one day, he would be able to deal with this troublesome Xiao Chen in 2.5 days. The old man knew the frustration and rage in Gao Yangyu's heart. He patted his chest and guaranteed, "City Lord, don't worry. The elders analyzed the 10 matches yesterday. This person is extremely strong, and his physical body's defense is extraordinary. However, his palm techniques are not very exquisite. As long as we find someone with a stronger physical body, we will be able to crush him easily." Gao Yangyu said sullenly, "Can you guarantee that?" The old man said with certainty, "There is absolutely no problem. If he cannot withstand severe injuries, City Lord, you can severely injure me." Compared to that person, Xiao Chen's physical body is on a completely different level. When Gao Yangyu heard this, he was slightly relieved. When Xiao Chen entered the dueling ring, the previously calm dueling ring immediately turned noisy as everyone discussed the dueling ring. Although Jiang Zimo and the others had stolen the limelight from Xiao Chen's performance the previous day, he was still the first person to set off a climax. Everyone was still filled with anticipation. Bang! After a while, a tall and stout man carrying a huge axe leaped out from his seat. As this person flew, he did not give off any fluctuations of essence. Unexpectedly, he was someone who cultivated the physical body. Bang! When the stout man landed on the ground, he gave off a loud sound and kicked up a cloud of dust into the air. Xiao Chen peered through the dust and saw this person's appearance. He could not help but reveal a smile. "Bai Lishi, you actually dare to appear before me. You are extraordinarily courageous." Chapter 441. Who else could the cultivator that the old man mentioned be other than Bai Lishi? In the ancient desolate land, only Bai Lishi fulfilled the criteria. Bai Lishi smiled somewhat embarrassedly and said, "Before I came up, I really did not know it was you. They did not tell me your name." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Why should I care so much about you? If you want to fight, fine. Just return the medial grade secret treasure to me first." Bai Lishi cursed helplessly, "Damn it. Every time I run into you, nothing good ever happens. I just heard that there are Renka wrestling rings here, so I wanted to come and earn some money. Who knew I would run into you?" Since Bai Lishi knew that Gao Yangyu wanted to deal with Xiao Chen, naturally, he did not intend to make a move. Although Bai Lishi was greedy, talkative, and short-tempered, he was not an ungrateful person. Since Bai Lishi had recognized Xiao Chen as a friend, he would not betray him. Furthermore, Bai Lishi had taken a medial grade secret treasure from Xiao Chen previously. Logically or emotionally, he would not help an outsider deal with his friend. Damn it. You can just casually defeat me in a few moves. That way, I will be able to report back. However, let me make this clear first. You are not allowed to hit my face, chest, or lower body. The most important thing is not to hurt me. Bai Lishi had a bitter expression on his face as he nagged. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "No problem, as you wish." Hence, the tens of thousands of people present saw an exaggerated scene that no one had seen in the hundreds of years since Wrestling City was built. Xiao Chen's figure flashed and arrived behind Bai Lishi. He merged his essence and vital qi into his body and kicked Bai Lishi's butt. Bang! There was a loud sound as Bai Lishi shot up into the air like a cannonball. The wrestling ring was several kilometers away from the spectator stands, but Bai Lishi flew over it. The fiery pain from his butt nearly caused Bai Lishi to collapse. The pain made his facial features scrunch up tightly. He was not allowed to hit her face, chest, or lower body. Other than hitting her butt, Xiao Chen really couldn't think of where else to kick. As for not hurting him, that was nonsense. How could it not hurt when hitting someone? In any case, this guy's body was stronger than his. A full-powered kick wouldn't hurt him. Bang! When the people below saw Bai Lishi's falling body, they quickly dodged to the side. His huge body immediately smashed the stone seats into smithereens. Fuck! Bai Lishi crawled to his feet and cursed. Then, he quickly ran out of the wrestling ring. Gao Yangyu's men would definitely cause trouble for him. He had no choice but to run faster. He would not even have the chance to vent his anger at Xiao Chen. He felt extremely depressed. The audience's jaws dropped. They were so shocked that they didn't know what to say. They didn't expect this to happen. The person with an even wider jaw than them was the old man beside Gao Yangyu. His face was filled with astonishment, and his eyes were filled with confusion. He had never imagined that such a scene would occur. "You filthy thing!" Gao Yangyu flew into a rage and kicked the old man, breaking several of his ribs. The other old men in the room remained silent, not daring to say anything. Even though the commotion was over, the matches had to continue. Xiao Chen had already won 11 matches in a row. The rewards for defeating him were considerable. Although the rewards would not catch the attention of some of the peak experts, they were still a great source of income for many cultivators. In the following 17 matches, Xiao Chen only used vital qi, he did not even use his essence. Xiao Chen did this so that he could break through to the firmament body tempering art's 4th layer. In Bai Lishi's cultivation book, he had written about the key to quickly tempering the physical body. One of the most important points was to use pure vital qi to fight. Feeling the circulation of vital qi in the body and comprehending the mysteries of vital qi in battle was the fastest. In the 17 matches, as long as there was no life-threatening or serious injury, Xiao Chen chose to use vital qi to fight his enemies. The people who fought today were clearly stronger than the previous day. Many people were already familiar with Xiao Chen's combat techniques and thought of countermeasures. Every match was very difficult. Wounds slowly appeared on Xiao Chen's body, he was no longer as relaxed as the previous day. Some cultivators even found some of the mistakes that Xiao Chen had made, wanting to make Xiao Chen pay a heavy price. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen had carefully analyzed his matches the previous night. He would not make the same mistakes again. Furthermore, he could make use of the arrogance of these people to beat them at their own game, achieving an unexpected result. This fellow has a strong talent for combat. Although every match looked like it was not easy for him to win, he did win all of them. Let's wait and see first. If Jiang Zimo and the others do not perform well, I will bet 5,000 medial-grade spirit stones on him. Unfortunately, there is too little information on him in Wrestling City. They did not advertise him at all. On the contrary, Ding Fengqiu and the others did their best to advertise him. Xiao Chen's successive victories gave the crowd some anticipation for Xiao Chen's strength. Everyone started discussing him. After the 18 matches ended, Xiao Chen paid a significant price. He was even in a somewhat sorry state. However, he still managed to walk forward step by step, obtaining all the victories. Xiao Chen's clothes were tattered, and wounds of various sizes covered his body. Everyone could tell that Xiao Chen had not won easily. I think we should not bet on him. When the medial grade spirit stone reward breaks 10,000, it will attract some experts. When it reaches 100,000, all the peak experts will come out. He is already having such a hard time now. He will not be able to do it tomorrow. The day after that will be even more difficult. After the 18 matches ended, Xiao Chen became the first person to obtain 28 consecutive victories. Although his strength was acknowledged, the situation was not very good to look at. Many people believed that he would be defeated after he accumulated enough spirit stones to break his winning streak. Xiao Chen suppressed the injuries in his body and walked over to the grey-robed cultivator. Then, he received the 7,400 medial-grade spirit stones that belonged to him. In addition to the 3,000 that he obtained yesterday, Xiao Chen had already obtained more than 10,000 inferior-grade spirit stones. This was equivalent to a tenth of his wealth. The grey-robed old man handed the spirit stones to Xiao Chen with some heartache. He said, "Congratulations, you are the first person to obtain 28 consecutive victories." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and thanked the grey-robed old man. Then, he received the spirit stones and returned to his corner. Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged and circulated his energy to treat his injuries. Today's fight was twice as intense as yesterday's. Furthermore, Xiao Chen did not use his essence. There were even more hidden injuries on his body. He had to deal with them as soon as possible. However, after using his vital qi to fight 17 consecutive high-intensity matches, Xiao Chen gained a new understanding of the way of cultivating the physical body. If nothing unexpected happened, the cultivation speed of the firmament body tempering art's fourth layer would definitely increase by another layer. Several people in the crowd looked at Xiao Chen and shook their heads. They still felt that doing so would not be of much use. Ha ha! No wonder he works so hard. It is not easy to win every match. It would be strange if he did not work harder. The people of the Great Qin nation are not very talented. Their brains are not very good either. If cramming at the last minute is useful, then what is the point of working hard normally? That's right. With one look, I can tell that he does not put in much effort normally. Otherwise, why would he still think about cultivating before a fight? Paying attention to his opponent's fighting style and techniques is what he should be doing now. How foolish. When they saw Xiao Chen sit down cross-legged again, they all mocked him. Actually, some of their words contained jealousy for Xiao Chen's consecutive victories. This was especially so for the people who fought before Xiao Chen. They had not obtained consecutive victories. Furthermore, they did not think that they were weaker than Xiao Chen. Even Xiao Chen could obtain consecutive victories, but they could not. The disparity in their hearts could be easily imagined. Now that they saw Xiao Chen's strange actions, they could not help but mock him. This was especially so for Yunping, who was the first to fight. His consecutive victories had ended in the last match. He was in a bad mood, so the one who spoke the nastiest words was him. Even this kind of trash can obtain consecutive victories. His luck is really fucking good. Xia Xian, Jiang Zimo, Mu Xinya, and the others who were on good terms with Xiao Chen did not find this strange. Furthermore, they knew that Xiao Chen would not care, so they could not be bothered with this group of people. However, Xiaoro could not help it. Back then, Xiao Chen had helped her obtain an iron medallion. This had improved her impression of him significantly. Furthermore, Xiao Chen was still young and had purer thoughts. When he saw the crowd continuously ridiculing him, he could no longer endure it. He said, "You people cannot obtain consecutive victories, so you go and mock others. Is there any meaning to it? You are really shameless." Yunping laughed loudly, "We are speaking the truth. How are we mocking him? Furthermore, what is the point of having consecutive victories? He just needs to obtain 60 victories. That's right. He just needs to obtain 60 victories. With his strength, he already had such a difficult time winning today. Can he still obtain consecutive victories tomorrow? Furthermore, you are just a little girl. What qualifications do you have to criticize us? You did not even obtain 5 victories yesterday." Ha ha ha. When the group of people saw that Ruru had seen through their thoughts, their expressions became very unhappy. One by one, they pointed their spears at her. Chapter 442. Xiao Rou's delicate face flushed red with anger. So many people were talking about her. Even if she wanted to, she would not be able to win. Xia Xian pulled Xiao Rou behind her and looked coldly at the crowd. A murderous intent gathered in the depths of her eyes. She said sullenly, "Is there any point in a group of men bullying a little girl?" When the crowd felt Xia Xian's murderous intent, they did not say anything. After all, Xia Xian's strength was clear for all to see. Furthermore, she had become famous long ago. She was one of the peak geniuses of the great Xia nation. It was not a good thing to offend her. The matches continued, but it no longer had anything to do with Xiao Chen. He was completely immersed in cultivating the firmament body tempering art. The mockery and rumors of the outside world entered Xiao Chen's ears. He simply ignored them. They were just a bunch of jumping clowns. Xiao Chen only quickly digested the comprehensions he gained today and used them to break through to the fourth layer of the firmament body tempering art. Xiao Chen's improvement was much greater than he had imagined. Vital qi flowed through his entire body, surging in his 300-odd acupoints. The blue dragon hidden in his acupoints enjoyed this vital qi. Every time his vital qi surged, Xiao Chen could feel the greedy expression on the blue dragon's face. After the blue dragon martial spirit was shattered by Song Kei's palm strike, it scattered throughout the acupoints of his body. As Xiao Chen's vital qi grew, the blue dragon qi sealed in his acupoints would automatically open up. Such a reason was also an important reason why Xiao Chen could not give up on cultivating his physical body. The strength of the Azure Dragon energy was the best proof of that. The Azure Dragon tattoo on his right arm was the best proof. Time slowly went by, and the sky slowly turned dark. Xiao Chen had already cultivated for 14 to 16 hours. The matches in the wrestling ring also slowly came to an end. The 7 people who obtained consecutive victories from the previous day all advanced to the next round. Their victories were magnificent and effortless. This was a stark contrast to Xiao Chen's arduous battles. This made the crowd in the spectator stands even more certain that Xiao Chen would not be able to obtain 60 consecutive victories. The fight had ended. According to the rules, the contestants could leave. Xiao Chen got up and returned to his courtyard. After dinner, Xiao Chen went to a relatively open area in the courtyard and started to think about his battle plan for the day. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that the Great Dragon Tiger Fist had too many flaws. There were too few moves, and the transition between offense and defense wasn't fast enough. As a result, when they encountered martial artists with exquisite moves, they would fall into a passive position. Looks like I have to make some changes tomorrow, Xiao Chen thought to himself. I'll make some improvements to my fist technique first. With his current realm, he was still unable to create his own fist technique. However, it was not a problem for him to make some changes that suited him. 2 hours later, Xiao Chen finally finished modifying the Dragon Tiger Fist. He then continued to charge towards the 4th stage of the Great Dragon Tiger Fist. He felt that he wasn't far from the lesser mastery of the 4th stage. At the same time, in the tall tower of the wrestling ring, in Gao Yangyu's room, a group of old men were busily tabulating the information. City Lord Gao, we have already tabulated the bets for today. Ding Fengqiu and the other 5 people you mentioned have already bet more than 5 million medial-grade spirit stones. They should have no problem breaking 10 million tomorrow. An old man holding a stack of information said carefully. Gao Yangyu had been in a bad mood the entire day. When he heard the tabulation, his expression warmed up slightly. He smiled and said, as expected. The day after tomorrow is the last day to place bets. In that case, we will release the news that we are candidates for the ancient desolate tower tomorrow. It is not impossible for the bets to break 50 million medial-grade spirit stones. The room in the tall tower was very large. 7 cultivators with strong auras sat in a corner to the west, resting with their eyes closed. Among the 7, some had white hair and eyebrows. It was unknown how long they had lived. Others had killing intent written all over their faces. Even with their eyes closed, one could feel a horrifying killing intent. There were also some with electric currents flickering around their bodies, small tornadoes, or strands of flames appearing out of nowhere. Clearly, these people had comprehended their respective states to the limit. Even with their eyes closed, they could still emit energy without them realizing it. When they heard that the bets this time might break 50 million medial-grade spirit stones, joy flashed on the faces of the seven. City Lord, what should we do about that brat called Xiao Chen? Should we invite the 7 guest elders to come out? Any one of them should be able to crush him easily. Gao Yangyu glanced at the 7 people in the corner and shook his head. No, each person can only fight twice. This is only the 3rd day. This is too much of a waste. The old man continued, in that case, should we invite Shifeng to come out and let him cripple Xiao Chen in an instant? He won't even have time to admit defeat. Gao Yangyu shook his head and said, that is even more impossible. Shifeng is the treasure of the ancient desolate tower. If someone really obtained more than 60 consecutive victories, do you want me to go bankrupt? Never mind, don't bother about this matter. I will make a move personally and make a trip to Desolate City tonight. On the morning of the 3rd day of the wrestling ring, Xiao Chen sat on his bed and suddenly opened his eyes. The acupoints on his left palm and wrist suddenly burst open. 2 strands of dragon chi flew out and filled Xiao Chen's left hand. Bang! Xiao Chen clenched his left hand into a fist and punched the air. His vital chi surged out and suddenly exploded. Ripples appeared in the air. As the ripples spread, the entire room trembled slightly. Xiao Chen revealed a joyful expression after his consecutive victories. He stood up from his bed and smiled. I finally reached small perfection in the firmament body tempering art's 4th layer. Unexpectedly, my vital chi increased by 10,000 kilograms of force and I managed to burst open 2 acupoints. If the 4th layer reached consummation, it would be possible to increase his strength by 50,000 kilograms of force. The effects of a heaven-ranked body tempering cultivation technique were indeed extraordinary. Right now, Xiao Chen's vital chi was already very vast. Every increase of 5,000 kilograms of force was incomparably difficult. Back then, Bai Lishi had been stuck at this stage for decades. Xiao Chen was very fortunate to be able to obtain a heaven-ranked body tempering art right after he reached this bottleneck. The sky was already bright. Xiao Chen headed for the wrestling ring and entered the spectator stands. When the gray-robed old man found Xiao Chen, he immediately said, Xiao Chen, give me your iron medallion. It has been changed to number 125. Number 125 was the last person to fight. Xiao Chen did not ask any questions and directly handed over his iron medallion. When the gray-robed old man saw Xiao Chen's calm expression, accepting the change and immediately leaving without saying anything, he felt a pressure in his heart for some reason. This fellow is so calm that it is scary. To Xiao Chen, there was no difference between number 15 and 125. As for what schemes there were, the gray-robed old man did not care. In this wrestling ring, the other party had the final say. Xiao Chen did not have any chance to argue over such a small matter. After arriving at his own corner, Xiao Chen ignored the gazes of the others. He continued to sit cross-legged and did his best to cultivate the firmament body tempering art's 4th layer. This fellow is trying to make a last-minute effort again. How foolish! The others watched coldly as Xiao Chen moved. After a few taunts, they ignored him. The facts had already proven that comprehending the firmament body tempering art's 4th layer in battle was very helpful. Hence, Xiao Chen did not need to care about the gazes of the others. The matches began. This day's matches were even more intense than the previous 2 days. The first 10-odd people did not manage to obtain even half of their victories. After 18 matches, even Yunping only managed to obtain 9 victories. This was not surprising. After all, he had fought so many matches in a row. The people in the spectator stands were already familiar with the unique characteristics of their martial techniques. If they were not like Xiao Chen, thinking about every match, the matches on the 2nd day would be incredibly difficult. It was reasonable for them to lose. Strange, they have already changed so many numbers. Why is that Xiao Chen not going up yet? Why do you care about him? Maybe they changed their numbers. You did not even bet on him. Look, Ding Fengqiu is coming up. That's right. I bet 5,000 medial grade spirit stones on Ding Fengqiu. I bet that he can win 50 matches in a row. Ha ha. You are too timid. I bet 10,000 medial grade spirit stones that he can win 60 matches in a row. The payout is double yours. Ha ha. You are too timid. I bet 10,000 medial grade spirit stones that he can win 60 matches in a row. The payout is double yours. Some of the spectators felt that it was strange that Xiao Chen did not go up. However, it did not cause too much of a commotion. When the popular Ding Fengqiu went up, all the questions about Xiao Chen were forgotten. Dong! 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 When Ding Fengqiu entered the arena, he felt the atmosphere of the crowd. The drums in the surroundings suddenly exploded out. In the 28 matches, Ding Fengqiu dealt with his opponents within 50 moves. He used the Heavenly Gate defensive sword technique to kill people from a kilometer away. Ding Fengqiu easily obtained victory without suffering any injuries. He was very popular. He was also the most popular candidate on the betting lists. I am Ding Fengqiu of the Great Chu Nation's Heavenly Sword Gate. Please give me your guidance. The white-robed Ding Fengqiu held a sword and cupped his hands. Right after Ding Fengqiu spoke, someone immediately came down to challenge him. Now that Ding Fengqiu had won 28 matches in a row, the reward for defeating him would be enough to tempt some ordinary experts. Bai Yunfeng, sorry for the offense. The person who came was also a swordsman. Right after he spoke, he took the initiative to attack. He quickly rushed at Ding Fengqiu. With the Heavenly Sword technique, once Bai Yunfeng put some distance between them, he would not lose. He would only have a chance if he got close. Ding Fengqiu pushed off the ground. Contrary to Bai Yunfeng's expectations, he rushed at him as well. A surging sword intent surged out. Before his sword was drawn, a sharp light already appeared. Xiao! Ding Fengqiu used 2 fingers as a sword and pointed them forward. 18 blade-like sword qi appeared behind him. Wang! Wang! The sword qi buzzed in the air like they were real weapons. They carried a sharp state of massacre and kicked up 18 strong winds as they flew at Bai Yunfeng. Ding dang! Ding dang! Bai Yunfeng's expression changed slightly as he retreated. The weapons clashed with the sword qi, giving off metallic clangs and countless sparks. Using qi as a sword. An expert in the spectator stands exclaimed in shock. Using qi as a sword was an extremely profound technique in the Heavenly Sword technique. It turned the air into a sharp sword and could be used at will. This technique had nothing to do with cultivation realm or talent. Instead, it had a very high requirement for comprehension ability. Rumor had it that after it reached great perfection, a sword sage could create tens of thousands of qi swords out of thin air. The qi swords were very solid, containing the will of the cultivator. Chapter 443. With 10,000 swords, no matter how strong a person was, they would be riddled with holes. Under Ding Fengqiu's control, the 18 qi swords danced around and formed a storm of swords, forcing Bai Yunfeng to retreat continuously. Pu ci! Pu ci! The qi swords were astonishingly fast and there were many of them. Bai Yunfeng could only do his best to protect his vital points. The other parts of his body were injured by the swords, bleeding profusely. Combine! Ding Fengqiu shouted and his aura suddenly gathered. The 18 qi swords merged and formed a real sword in the air. A scarlet light spread out on the sword. That was Ding Fengqiu's strong state of massacre. He quickly formed hand seals with his right hand. The scarlet sword moved like a beam of light and flashed by. A bloody hole appeared in Bai Yunfeng's chest. He vomited a mouthful of blood and fell over. Boom! 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 Ding Fengqiu easily defeated by Yunfeng and used qi as a sword to end his opponent with one strike. Such strength caused the crowd to erupt into an uproar. Defeat, defeat, defeat. The defensive sword technique used qi to control the sword. It could be executed alternately or at the same time. Ding Fengqiu's aura soared into the sky along with the golden cauldron drum. He won 18 consecutive victories. Including the victories of the first 2 days, Ding Fengqiu had 46 consecutive victories. He was only 14 more victories away from tying the highest record in the history of Wrestling City. Following that, more contestants went up. However, Ding Fengqiu suppressed them. They could not pique the crowd's interest. Only when Jiang Zimo went up did the atmosphere become lively again. Jiang Zimo did not disappoint the crowd. Although he did not have it as easy as Ding Fengqiu, who only used 50 moves in each match, Jiang Zimo performed very steadily from start to finish. He obtained the final victory and became the second contestant to obtain 46 consecutive victories. However, the next contestant from the Holy Fire Manor, Ling Yun, was not as lucky. Someone found his weakness and ended his winning streak. It was a pity. Xia Xian also ran into an extremely strong bladesman. The two of them fought an intense battle for hundreds of rounds. They were evenly matched. In the end, they could only end up in a draw. According to the rules, their winning streak ended as well. Gao Yangyu rushed into the tall tower, looking travel-worn. He quickly said, "Are we late? Has that brat gone up yet?" Someone immediately replied, "Not too late." As instructed, he was moved to the end. The desolate city was very far from Longyang Island. With Gao Yangyu's strength, he would need to find someone to go back and forth. One night would not be enough. Therefore, he could only come up with this plan and move Xiao Chen's order to the last. Gao Yangyu said, "Did this kid ask why?" "No, it was very peaceful." Gao Yangyu laughed softly. "This brat is rather tactful. He knows who is in charge here." "City Lord, are there no problems this time?" the old man asked with interest. Someone who could make Gao Yangyu personally go to Desolate City to look for was definitely not simple. Gao Yangyu nodded gently and said coldly, 40,000 medial-grade spirit stones to borrow someone from the wrestling ring in Desolate City. He cultivates a peak earth-ranked fist technique. His physical body and speed are pretty good. I can't be bothered to continue playing with him. Let's just cripple him in one match, Gao Yangyu said casually. The setting sun was like fire, illuminating the clouds in the sky. The matches in the wrestling ring were slowly coming to an end. The gray-robed old man looked at Xiao Chen, who was in the corner, and said, "Number 125, it is your turn." Xiao Chen opened his eyes and glanced at the old man indifferently. Then, he slowly walked into the wrestling ring. When the gray-robed old man saw Xiao Chen's expression, he was astonished. Why does it seem like every time this brat meditates, his strength improves a little? Furthermore, Xiao Chen is clearly only an inferior-grade martial king. Yet, the gray-robed old man could not understand him. He could not understand him. "I am the great Qin nation's Xiao Chen. Please give me your guidance." Xiao Chen's voice, which was neither soft nor loud, resounded in the wrestling ring. It immediately caused a commotion. I nearly forgot about this brat. I thought he had withdrawn from the competition and was about to leave. Indeed, no matter what, he is now one of the 5 people with consecutive victories. I wonder if he can maintain this. Haha, I would like to know as well. This fellow always looks like he is using his full power. However, in the end, he is able to pull through. It is truly unfathomable. As the wrestling ring came to an end, many of the spectators already had thoughts of withdrawing. When they saw Xiao Chen, they became more interested. Bang! A cultivator in black robes shot out from the spectator stands. After he landed, his sharp aura immediately created a whirlwind in the wrestling ring, causing Xiao Chen's hair to flutter. I am the Desolate City's Baijian. I am here to seek advice from you. Baijian took out a pair of shiny metal gloves and slowly put them on. His eyes were as sharp as an eagle's as he looked at Xiao Chen coldly. Unexpectedly, Bai Zhan was a cultivator from the desolate city. Furthermore, he was a boxing master that specialized in dealing with Xiao Chen. Suddenly, Xiao Chen understood why he changed his iron medallion to number 125. This Gao Yangyu really put in a lot of effort. Xiao Chen raised his head and looked at a tall tower in the distance. There was a pair of eyes looking at him coldly from there. Every time he appeared, he could clearly feel it. When Gao Yangyu saw Xiao Chen's gaze in the tall tower, he felt a strange chill. He shook his head and dispelled this chill. Gao Yangyu smiled coldly and said, "No matter how much you struggle, you will not have a chance this time. This is a boxing master that specializes in dealing with you. You have no chance in terms of punches and kicks." Boom! There was an explosion and a strong wind blew in the air. Bai Zhan had already put on his gloves and was sending a punch at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's feet were firmly glued to the ground as he looked at this punch. Then, he used his right fist, which was covered in a black glove, to meet the punch. Bang! When the two fists met, there was a violent tremor. The air seemed to stop flowing for an instant. In the next moment, it exploded. Countless spider-like cracks appeared on the ground around the two of them. Pieces of rock floated up into the air before exploding and turning into dust. A strong wind blew and kicked up the dust, covering the two's figures. The crowd's vision was immediately affected. Boom! 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 Suddenly, Bai Zhan shouted 3 times and punched. 3 waves of energy surged out, each wave stronger than the one before. The two, who were originally evenly matched, immediately lost their balance. This sudden burst of energy forced Xiao Chen to take 3 steps back. The qi and blood in his body could not help but surge. Finally, the 3 waves of energy merged together and exploded out with an even stronger force. Bai Zhan's body left the ground. This ferocious and berserk punch was like a falcon hunting its prey. It chased closely after Xiao Chen, whose qi and blood were surging. Bai Zhan's gaze was cold and calm, there were no fluctuations at all. In his eyes, Xiao Chen was just prey. Bai Zhan only had one goal: to injure and cripple Xiao Chen, not giving him a chance to admit defeat. In a rush, Xiao Chen could only merge his essence and vital qi. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched again. Bang! Countless long gorges appeared on the ground. The energy from the collision of the 2 fists kicked up an even stronger storm. Sand and rocks flew everywhere, and a strong wind howled. Xiao Chen retreated again. This time, he took more than 10 steps back before he could stand stably. Blood leaked out of the corner of his lips. Although Bai Zhan's fist force was not as strong as Xiao Chen's, by stacking 3 layers of energy and using this technique, Xiao Chen could not clash head-on with his essence and vital qi. Bang! 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 Bai Zhan did not show any mercy when he gained the upper hand. He quickly pressed forward and sent out hundreds of fist images with his fists, attacking Xiao Chen relentlessly. Bai Zhan controlled the rhythm of the fight. Xiao Chen could only follow his attacks. However, the gloves in Bai Zhan's hands seemed to be a secret treasure. His attack speed was even faster than Xiao Chen's. Xiao Chen was at a complete disadvantage. After exchanging a few hundred moves, half of Bai Zhan's fist winds landed on him, forcing him to retreat. Strong explosive power, brilliant techniques, lightning-fast attack speed, and an incredibly calm mental state. In terms of fist techniques, Bai Zhan completely suppressed Xiao Chen. Interesting. It looks like he is not satisfied until I die. Bai Zhan used his full power in every move. It was clear that he would not stop until he crippled Xiao Chen. If he made any mistakes, he would not be able to recover from this setback. He would lose countless times in a row. Xiao Chen smiled coldly to himself. Unfortunately, I was never a fist master. Using a fist master to deal with me? Isn't that a joke? Roaming Dragon's 9 transformations, split. After retreating for a long time, Xiao Chen's figure suddenly flickered, and he split into 9 clones. These clones headed in 9 different directions, quickly escaping from Bai Zhan's attacks. The 9 clones looked exactly the same. Amidst the dust and chaotic winds, it was hard to tell which one was the real one. Bai Zhan mocked, "Cloning techniques are unorthodox. Before absolute strength and speed, they are useless. Why are you, a fist master, learning this? Break for me." Xiao Chen said calmly, "Absolute speed. Do you have it? Blood Flame Shoe's secret technique, activate." Xiao Chen shouted, and the black-winged blood flame eagle patterns on his shoes suddenly lit up. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's speed increased by 4 times the speed of sound. Ka Xie. The instant the 9 clones merged, a saber appeared in Xiao Chen's hand. The saber's edge was sharp, and it gave off a cold light. He quickly executed, drawing the saber. A dazzling bolt of lightning flashed through the air filled with dust. Xiao Chen wanted to hack Bai Zhan in half with his saber. Bai Zhan's previously relaxed face revealed a horrified expression. "Damn it! Why didn't Gao Yanyu tell me that this fellow is a bladesman?" Bai Zhan's punch was extremely fast. Originally, he had intended to break all of Xiao Chen's clones in one go. However, he had not expected that Xiao Chen did not even think of using his clones to confuse him. Xiao Chen used an even faster speed to clash with Bai Zhan's attack. Furthermore, it was not a fist technique but a saber technique with a startling aura. Even if Bai Zhan wanted to retreat, he did not have the opportunity to do so. His opponent's explosive speed reached 4 times the speed of sound. It was not something that Bai Zhan could dodge. He could only do his best to avoid being hit in the vital areas. Ah! A miserable cry resounded, accompanied by a spurt of blood. Xiao Chen's saber strike chopped off one of Bai Zhan's arms. Bai Zhan lay on the ground, his left hand covering his wound. He trembled as he said, "How hateful. You are actually not a fist master." When fist masters fought with fist masters, when fist masters fought with bladesmen, they all had different strategies. Furthermore, they were 2 completely different sets of strategies. Bai Zhan had used the strategy of fighting a fist master against a bladesman. It would be difficult for him not to suffer a tragedy. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Sorry, I never said that I was a fist master." Chapter 444. Up in the tall tower, Gao Yangyu and the old man beside him heard a heart-wrenching scream from the dust-filled wrestling ring. The 2 of them could not help but reveal smiles. The old man quickly said, "Congratulations, City Lord. You finally dealt with this brat." Based on that sound, he must have lost at least 1 arm. Gao Yangyu had a relaxed expression. He smiled and said, "Naturally, the person I found is more reliable than that Bai Lishi you found. The 40,000 medial-grade spirit stones were not spent for nothing." Knowing that Gao Yangyu was in a good mood, the old man flattered, "City Lord's eyes are naturally far-sighted, able to see 1,000 kilometers away. When you make your move, you hit the nail on the head, eliminating any future problems." "Ha ha! You really know how to talk. However, I like it. Ha ha! Come, let's go and take a look at the information on the bets." Gao Yangyu laughed loudly. Just at this moment, the dust in the wrestling ring slowly settled. The 2 of them stopped and turned around, preparing to see Xiao Chen's sorry state. However, the situation in the wrestling ring was beyond their expectations. One of Bai Zhan's arms was broken, and he lay on the ground in pain. Xiao Chen had a faint smile on his face. He looked calmly at the 2 people in the tall tower, as if nothing had happened to them. The smiles on the 2's faces froze. The old man's body trembled slightly as he said in a quivering voice, "City Lord, it seems like the one who got crippled is the person you invited." Bang! Gao Yangyu's expression turned furious. He kicked the old man's chest and said angrily, "This old man has eyes. Do I need you to tell me?" Scram! The old man's face was filled with pain as he complained in his heart. The ribs on his chest had not fully recovered yet. Now, they were all broken again. Humph! When Gao Yangyu saw Xiao Chen's faint smile, he snorted coldly. Then, he smacked the window heavily again. Gao Yangyu turned around and walked to the western corner of the room. The old man on the ground just got up. Gao Yangyu's eyes were filled with disgust when he thought about what the old man said about far-sighted, able to see 1,000 kilometers away. Gao Yangyu kicked the old man again, knocking him into the wall and causing him to faint. Trash! If you had not gone to find that Bai Lishi, we would not have waited until today to deal with that brat. When Gao Yangyu arrived at the western corner, he looked at the 7 cultivators with extremely strong auras. In the end, his gaze landed on an old man with white hair and beard. He said indifferently, "Old Bai, I'll need you to make a move earlier this time. Help me kill him tomorrow." Old Bai slowly opened his eyes and a bright light shot out from his eyes. He said in a calm voice, "As you wish." Bai Zhan. Anyone who went to Desolate City's wrestling ring would be familiar with this name. The Desolate City was the link that connected the 4 great empires. It was one of the 2 great hearts of the Sky Martial continent. It was as famous as the capital of the Great Jin Empire, the Wind City. Since Bai Zhan was able to make a name for himself there was no need to doubt his strength. However, it was unexpected that he was an expert in boxing. When the dust settled, Bai Zhan fell at Xiao Chen's hands, crippling one of his arms. His life would be ruined in Longyang Island's wrestling ring. The one who ended all of this was the great Qin youth who still had a calm and indifferent expression, causing everyone to look down on him. The matches continued. Xiao Chen also figured out how Gao Yangyu dealt with him. Gao Yangyu would send an expert to deal with Xiao Chen every day for the first match. As long as Xiao Chen could injure Xiao Chen severely in the first match, he would continue to lose the next few matches. This was the best way to conserve resources. Gao Yangyu probably did not have enough resources on hand. He could not possibly place everyone on Xiao Chen. In this selection, there was also Ding Fengqiu and Jiang Zimo, peak geniuses like them. If they broke their 60 consecutive victories, they would definitely die. If Xiao Chen managed to break his 60 consecutive victories, there would be horrifying bets placed on him. No matter how rich he was, he would not be able to afford it. Hence, in the following matches, Xiao Chen did not intend to continue using his saber. He continued to use his vital qi and the modified Great Dragon Tiger Fist to fight. Like the previous day, Xiao Chen won every match in a sorry state. As of now, he had more than 30 victories. As long as he won a few hundred, he would be able to obtain more than 100,000 medial-grade spirit stones. Naturally, those who could afford half the challenge fee were not mediocre. Otherwise, they would not have squandered their money so casually. Xiao Chen's victories were even more arduous than the previous day. The wounds on his body were already horrifying. However, as long as he could endure, and his opponent was not a peak fist master, Xiao Chen would persist in using only his vital qi. After the firmament body tempering art reached small perfection, his vital qi had increased by 20,000. Although it was not obvious, Xiao Chen could feel the improvement. Compared to the previous day, Xiao Chen's comprehension of the increase in his vital qi had become even deeper. Fight! 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 Holding on to the thought of winning, Xiao Chen persevered with the sound of the war drums. As long as his opponent was not defeated, he would not fall. Complete victory. After 18 matches, Xiao Chen obtained complete victory once again. His winning streak now reached 46. Although Xiao Chen was in a sorry state and covered in wounds, his eyes remained calm. He did not care about the crowd's astonishment and disbelief. Xiao Chen dragged his somewhat fatigued body over to the grey-robed old man and received the 13800 medial-grade spirit stones that he had obtained today. This was a crazy number. This was the charm of consecutive victories in the arena. Those who did not have a winning streak would not be able to do so. Even though these people had obtained 17 victories today, they had only obtained 50,000 medial-grade spirit stones. Compared to people like Xiao Chen who had obtained consecutive victories, they were far from it. If Xiao Chen continued winning, the number of spirit stones he obtained tomorrow, the day after, and the day after that would reach an even crazier number. The expression on the gray-robed old man's face twitched a few times. It was clear that he felt pained. However, he still smiled bitterly and said, "Congratulations on obtaining 46 consecutive victories." Xiao Chen nodded gently and thanked the gray-robed old man. Then, he ignored everyone's gazes and walked out of the wrestling ring, heading for his courtyard. The internal injuries that Xiao Chen had suffered today were more severe than the previous 2 days combined. It would be difficult for him to recover in a short time by relying on his essence. Xiao Chen had no choice but to take out the spirit herbs for treating injuries that he had obtained from the herb garden on Shenren Island. He took out the spirit herbs that were 500 years old and above. Then, Xiao Chen categorized them according to how they treated internal and external injuries. Finally, he chose 2 700-year-old spirit herbs that did not clash with each other. Then, he decocted them and consumed them. After that, Xiao Chen sat cross-legged and circulated his essence to speed up the release of the medicinal energy. With the assistance of the spirit herbs and Xiao Chen's somewhat monstrous physique, the wounds on his skin healed at a visible rate. The wounds on his skin were slowly healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The internal injuries and blocked qi and blood in his body were also slowly clearing up. After 2 hours, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and vomited a mouthful of black blood. He immediately felt much more relaxed, his internal injuries had completely recovered. Looking at the remaining spirit herbs on the table, Xiao Chen said softly, "Spirit herbs are indeed good stuff." The internal injuries that would have required at least a week were completely healed in 2 hours with the assistance of these 2 spirit herbs. Unfortunately, there are too few of them. There are still 2,000-year-old spirit herbs. I will leave them for the day after tomorrow and tomorrow. After the wrestling ring ends on the last day, it will not affect the overall situation. After Xiao Chen left the room and ate dinner, he started his daily routine. He carefully simulated the fights that happened during the day. This was especially so for the fight with Bai Zhan. After he simulated it several times, the conclusion he came to was somewhat depressing. If Xiao Chen did not use the lunar shadow saber, he would not be a match for a peak fist master like Bai Zhan, no matter how he modified the Great Dragon Tiger Fist. This made Xiao Chen even more determined to obtain a peak earth-ranked fist technique or palm technique. Only then would he be able to bring out his strong vital qi and physical body perfectly. The night deepened and the silver moon climbed up the treetops, sending down a gentle light. Xiao Chen sat in the courtyard and started to infuse the comprehensions he gained during the day into the firmament body tempering art's 4th layer. Using pure vital qi to fight, comprehending the wonders of cultivating the physical body during battle was like Bai Lishi had said, it allowed one to improve very quickly. Every day after the fights, Xiao Chen would gain a new understanding of vital qi. Now, he could cultivate the firmament body tempering art's 4th layer with greater proficiency. Xiao Chen finally understood how Bai Lishi managed to cultivate the 4th layer in 2 months. Aside from talent, Bai Lishi's several dozen years of combat experience with vital qi was not something Xiao Chen could compare to. Time slowly went by. In the quiet night, there were the cries of insects, birds, or people whispering to each other. While it looked peaceful, it was actually very noisy. In the end, whether it was quiet or not depended on a single thought in one's heart. There was no distinction between day and night. During the past few days, Xiao Chen cultivated day and night. He seemed to have comprehended something in terms of mental state, becoming calmer and steadier than before. Bang! When the sun rose on the 2nd day, Xiao Chen opened his eyes. The 3rd acupoint on his left hand exploded open and turned into a strand of azure-colored dragon qi filling his left arm. A light flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes as he looked at the 3rd acupoint on his arm. Xiao Chen revealed a joyful smile. He muttered to himself, I opened another acupoint. It looks like I can open 2 more acupoints before I reach great perfection. If I reach consummation, I might be able to open all 12 acupoints on my left arm. When Xiao Chen arrived at the wrestling ring, he continued to cultivate as usual. The participants in the spectator stands who had mocked Xiao Chen for the past few days did not know what to do. They felt very conflicted in their hearts. No matter what they said, they could not erase Xiao Chen's glorious 46 consecutive victories. If they continued to say that Xiao Chen was ignorant and had low talent, they would be slapping themselves in the face. Even a foolish person like Xiao Chen, with such low talent, managed to obtain 46 consecutive victories. What about the people that they did not? Wouldn't that make them even more ignorant and have even lower talent, even worse than trash? Yun Ping said with some hatred, I don't believe that he can still obtain consecutive victories today. How can an ignorant person who is cramming at the last minute obtain 50 consecutive victories? Chapter 445. He is just lucky. How can someone from the great Qin nation obtain more than 50 consecutive victories? That's right. Why are you pretending to be noble and virtuous? He will eventually taste defeat. Everyone felt jealous. When they heard Yun Ping's words, they all agreed. When Xiaoro saw this, she felt very angry. She said, Senior sister, how can they do this? To think they are the outstanding talents of the various places. They do not have any magnanimity at all. Xia Xian smiled faintly and said, You will understand when you see more of them in the future. Xia Xian had been out adventuring since the age of 14. She had seen too much of the dark side of the world. The things that Xiaoro saw were just a drop in the bucket. They could no longer cause any ripples in Xia Xian's heart. Xiaoro looked at Xiao Chen, who was immersed in cultivation. She asked, Senior sister, do you think that fellow will be able to obtain consecutive victories today? Xia Xian shook her head slightly, indicating that she did not understand. It was hard to say. Xia Xian had a draw yesterday, so her winning streak had ended. The people who fought yesterday were all peak martial kings. Furthermore, they did not lack combat experience. Xia Xian had experienced it herself. She did not believe that Xiao Chen's victories could be explained by luck. Xiao Chen was strong. However, when Xia Xian saw how difficult it was for him to win every match, she could not see through Xiao Chen. It seemed like if he could continue winning, he would lose the next match. She could not understand him at all. Ding Fengqiu and Jiang Zimo looked at Xiao Chen with unfathomable gazes. Their hearts were filled with doubts. However, Pei Xiaoxian ignored Xiao Chen. He did not care about him at all. He walked over to Jiang Zimo and smiled, Brother Jiang, with our strength, we should be able to continue winning today. Jiang Zimo shook his head and said, It is hard to say. 48 consecutive victories is a threshold. The experts hired by the wrestling ring should be coming out soon. If we continue winning like this, the spirit stones we win are small. However, the spirit stones from the people outside will be enough to bankrupt Gao Yangyu. Pei Xiaoxian did not care and said, Let's wait and see. Unless a half-step martial monarch comes out, I do not believe that anyone can defeat me. Jiang Zimo smiled gently and did not say anything. Jiang Zimo had seen many peak experts below half-step martial monarch. There were many such people in the Myriad Fiend Palace alone. With Pei Xiaoshuan's attitude, he would definitely lose today. The spectator stands in the Colosseum were filled with people. There were even situations where 2 or 3 people were sitting on the same seat. With Gao Yangyu's promotion, the news that this wrestling ring was the first round of selections for the ancient desolate tower quickly spread. As a result, many cultivators on Longyang Island received the news and rushed over in large numbers. Today's ticket prices had increased by several times, and they were all sold out. The supply could not meet the demand. Moreover, the 4th day of the Colosseum was the true climax of the event. The participants who obtained consecutive victories had already accumulated more than 100,000 medial-grade spirit stones. To be able to afford such a challenge fee, one's own strength was a kind of proof. It could be imagined that the fights would be incomparably intense. The combination of the two resulted in the situation of 2 or 3 people sitting together in the audience seats. 5 participants obtaining 46 consecutive victories at the same time. This is the first time something like this has happened in Wrestling City on Longyang Island. Wrestling City has been around for close to 1,000 years, but the highest winning streak was only 60. Furthermore, that was 100 years ago. This is the first time I've seen so many people obtain 46 consecutive victories. That is normal. Think about who is qualified to participate in the ancient Desolate Tower selections. How could any of them be mediocre? Let's see who will obtain 60 consecutive victories in the end. I bet half of my wealth on Ding Fengqiu. I bet on Pei Xiaoxian. That fellow can order around spirit beasts. Few people of the same cultivation realm would be a match for him. Ha ha. I bet on Pei Xiaoxian as well. The spirit beasts are undefeatable. With more than 10 spirit beasts surrounding him, it would be hard to break through. Before the wrestling ring started, the discussions about the wrestling ring never stopped. Aside from the ancient Desolate Tower, most of the discussions focused on who would obtain 60 consecutive victories. Most of the topics were focused on who would be able to obtain 60 consecutive victories. After all, they had bet real money on these people. The victories of these people were closely related to their interests. Dong! As the war drums rang out, the wrestling ring officially started. As the first participant, Yun Ping went up first. I am the great Chu Nation's Yun Ping. Everyone, please give me some pointers. After Yun Ping landed, he performed a cupped fist salute in all directions. However, even after a few minutes, no one was willing to go up. This made him feel somewhat embarrassed. As of now, Yun Ping had only accumulated 5 consecutive victories. Defeating him would not give him many spirit stones, so no one was interested in him. After 10 odd minutes, someone came down to challenge him. This person did not even look at Yun Ping and immediately started fighting. Bang! 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 After 100 moves, this person's sword left a 2-centimeter-long wound on Yun Ping's chest. The wound was so deep that his bones and internal organs could be seen. Yun Ping used his trump card and turned the tables at the last moment. However, due to the severe wound on his chest, Yun Ping lost again and again in the next 10 odd matches. Eventually, he lost 17 consecutive matches. Boos came from the entire wrestling ring, making Yun Ping feel ashamed. The following matches were rather boring, there was nothing to see. Only when Pei Xiaoxian went up did thunderous cheers resound in the wrestling ring. Pei Xiaoxian smiled faintly, he enjoyed this feeling. He raised his head and said, I am Pei Xiaoxian of the Beast Taming Abode. Everyone, please give me some pointers. Xiao. Right after Pei Xiaoxian spoke, a stout man wearing black soft armor with a black wolf tattoo on his neck and a mace on his back quickly descended from the spectator stands. This was a stark contrast to Yun Ping, who had not appeared for 10 odd minutes. I am Tuoba Luyan. I am here to experience your great moves. Pei Xiaoxian looked at the mace on Tuoba Luyan's back and the black wolf tattoo on his neck. Then, he touched the ring on his hand and mocked, unexpectedly, you are a barbarian warrior. I have defeated quite a few people. It looks like there will be one more today. However, Tuoba Luyan ignored Pei Xiaoxian's belittling words. After he spoke, he took out the mace on his back. The black wolf tattoo on Tuoba Luyan's neck seemed to come to life as it quickly spread over his face. When Tuoba Luyan's entire face was covered by the wolf tattoo, he suddenly shouted and rushed at Pei Xiaoxian. Hu Qi! Tuoba Luyan moved as fast as lightning and swung his mace. The huge mace tore the air in half, it was very mighty. Ignorant! Pei Xiaoxian smiled coldly and retreated gently. Then, he raised the ring in his hand and prepared to summon a spirit beast. He only needed 2 hand seals to summon a rank 7 spirit beast. After that, he could summon 2, 3, or 4 spirit beasts. If a rank 7 spirit beast was not enough, he could summon a rank 8 spirit beast. He could easily grind anyone to death. Xiao! However, just at this moment, the wolf tattoo on Tuoba Luyan's body came out and formed the image of a black wolf, encasing Tuoba Luyan. The instant the image of the black wolf appeared, Tuoba Luyan's speed doubled again. Bang! The mace struck Pei Xiaoxian, who had not completed the last hand seal. Pei Shaoxian was immediately flung into the air like a sandbag. Pain! Pei Shaoxian vomited a mouthful of blood. He had an extremely pained expression on his face. This strike had broken several of his ribs. Damn it! Why is this fellow so fast? Pei Shaoxian thought in horror. He did not give me any time to summon a spirit beast. Boom! 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 Tuoba Luyun did not give Pei Shaoxian any time to react. His mace moved so fast that not even an afterimage could be seen. In the blink of an eye, Pei Shaoxian was struck more than 10 times. Pei Shaoxian was like a sandbag easily toyed with by Tuoba Luyun. He could not react at all. Every time Pei Shaoxian tried to form the final hand seal, he would be interrupted by the mace, preventing him from summoning any spirit beasts. It's over. Pei Shaoxian is going to lose. This Tuoba Luyun is simply too fast. Damn it! I should have thought of it long ago. As long as this fellow cannot summon a spirit beast, he will lose half of his strength. To think I even bet 10,000 medial grade spirit stones on him. Me too. I am in an even worse state than you. I bet 20,000 medial grade spirit stones, and now, it's all gone. When the spectators saw the situation in the wrestling ring, they all started cursing. This was a serious loss. Up in the tall tower, Gao Yangyu revealed a faint smile. Tuoba Luyun indeed does not feel any pressure when dealing with Pei Shaoxian. Gao Yangyu turned his head back and said to the group of old men at the table, "It is time to reap the harvest. How much did you bet on Pei Shaoxian?" 2 million medial grade spirit stones. The smile on Gao Yangyu's face became even wider. If Pei Shaoxian lost, these 2 million medial grade spirit stones would all be his. Very good. I remember that the next contestant with consecutive victories is Ding Fengqiu, Gao Yangyu continued. The old man leading the group nodded and said, "Yes, it is indeed Ding Fengqiu. He bet a lot, a total of 6 million medial grade spirit stones." Gao Yangyu smiled faintly and said, "The Heavenly Gate defensive sword is indeed not easy to deal with. However, there is still a chance of a draw." Pei Shaoxian was covered in wounds. He weakly returned to the spectator stands. He was severely injured and could not continue fighting, so he could only give up. Pei Shaoxian had lost 18 matches in a row. His expression was very unsightly. The wrestling rings continued. The challengers today were all very strong. As a result, few of them had more than a 50% chance of victory. The crowd finally felt that 60 consecutive victories were not that easy to obtain, even if they were not consecutive victories. After 3 days, the spectators had already figured out their strength and moves. However, they did not know anything about their opponents. If they were like Yunping and were severely injured in the first match, they might end up with consecutive defeats every day. When the crowd saw Pei Shaoxian, who was injured and forced to give up for a day, the unease in their hearts intensified. If even Pei Shaoxian could not avoid such an outcome, then wouldn't it be even more dangerous for them? The crowd started to panic. The waters of this wrestling ring were much deeper than they thought. The crowd looked at Xiao Chen, who was sitting cross-legged and cultivating calmly. They sighed and said, "This fellow is really damn calm." Chapter 446. Another person is losing consecutively. How many is this? Including Yunping and Pei Shaoxian, there are already 10. The people fighting today are too strong. Indeed, they have figured out all our moves. Damn it! If this goes on, it will be very difficult to win 60 matches. The matches continued. Aside from the cultivators who still had trump cards up their sleeves, the other outstanding talents ended up in a miserable state. They did not even manage to win 10 matches. Some even lost 18 matches in a row. The atmosphere of the arena became even more horrifying. The gray-robed old man said expressionlessly, "Number 56, Ding Fengqiu." Ding Fengqiu's figure floated up and landed on the wrestling ring. He cupped his hands and said, "Heavenly Sword Gates Ding Fengqiu seeks everyone's guidance. Ding Fengqiu is finally coming up. He better not lose. I bet 50 or 60,000 medial-grade spirit stones on him. Me too. Don't be like Pei Shaoxian. Otherwise, we won't even be able to cry. That should not be the case. The Heavenly Gate defensive sword technique is not clear. Furthermore, he has grasped the technique of using qi as a sword. When the spectators saw Ding Fengqiu enter the wrestling ring, they started discussing him. After all, the number of people who bet on him was much higher than Pei Shaoxuan's. Bang! A middle-aged cultivator wearing battle armor landed firmly on the ground. He waved his hand and 3 palm-sized pagoda shields flew out and danced around him. I, Mo Yen, am here to seek advice from you. When Ding Fengqiu saw the 3 small pagoda shields, he frowned slightly. Based on the aura of the shields, they seemed to be medial-grade defensive secret treasures. Using qi as a sword. Ding Fengqiu shouted and 18 qi swords appeared behind him. He pointed forward with 2 fingers. Ding dang! Ding dang! There was a series of clanging sounds as the 3 palm-sized shield flew up, down, left and right, blocking all the sword qi 1 meter away from Mo Yan's body. Ding Fengqiu's expression sank. He could not help but increase his speed. The angle at which he attacked also became more crafty. However, the shield seemed to be able to sense danger automatically. No matter where the qi sword came from above, left, right, or turning, it would be able to block the sharp qi sword at the last moment. Since I cannot find an opening, then I will make one. Using qi as a sword, merge. Ding Fengqiu could not help but become angry after attacking for a long time. A surging sword intent rushed into the sky from Ding Fengqiu's body. There seemed to be countless sword hums in the air, creating a strong wind as they danced around wildly. The 18 qi swords merged into one and pierced toward Mo Yen. Clang clang! With a thought from Mo Yen, one of the palm-sized shields instantly grew to over 2 meters tall and 1 meter wide, covering his entire body. The qi sword pierced the tower's shield, causing clanging sounds. Sparks flew in all directions, and a surging sword intent surged. Mo Yen, who was 1 meter behind the tower's shield, was forming hand seals with both hands. His expression did not look relaxed, and his feet were firmly planted on the ground. Hoochie hoochie! The sword intent was vast and mighty, like a gushing river. Ding Fengqiu controlled the qi sword over and over again, sending it crashing into the tower's shield. Every time the tower's shield crashed into the tower's shield, it kicked up a strong wind. The sword hummed in the wind, giving off a woo-woo sound. The strong sword intent seemed very solid. As the strong wind tried to merge with it, it seemed like it was trying to invade Mo Yan's body. However, they were all blocked by the other 2 palm-sized shields. Interesting. Still not breaking. State of massacre, merge. Ding Fengqiu snorted coldly, and the qi sword immediately turned scarlet. An aura of massacre quickly spread throughout the place. In an instant, the air seemed to solidify. Ding Fengqiu's aura rose to another level. Bang! The scarlet qi sword pierced the tower's shield violently. There was a loud sound, and Mo Yen was knocked back 100 meters along with the tower's shield. Boom! After Mo Yen landed, the force of the sword was transmitted to the ground, creating a huge pit. Although Mo Yen was pale, he did not suffer any major injuries. When Gao Yangyu saw all this, he smiled faintly and said, "It is useless. A regular medial-grade secret treasure would not be able to block your sword. However, when combined with the Mo clan's special secret technique, breaking it will be as difficult as ascending to heaven." When the spectators saw the fight enter a stalemate, they all started to feel anxious. Even the drumbeats, which normally sounded very passionate, sounded very irritating. Bang! 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 Ding Fengqiu executed all sorts of killing moves. Like a torrential storm, he forced Mo Yen to retreat continuously. A horrifying sword intent spread throughout the place. This increased the might of each sword strike by at least 20%. However, Mo Yen defended like a tortoise. The three shields moved up and down, changing sizes as they blocked Ding Fengchou's killing moves. Ka Xie. Ding Fengchou sheathed his sword and heaved a sigh of relief. He wiped away the sweat on his forehead and sighed, "Never mind, you can go down. This match is considered a draw." Ding Fengchou had already attacked for 4 hours. However, his opponent's defense was simply too shocking. If this continued, he would exhaust too much essence. He would have to give up on the remaining 17 matches. Ding Fengchou could only helplessly choose a draw. This person was here to deal with his defensive sword. He was indeed not easy to deal with. Ha 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 ha. Up in the tall tower, Gao Yangyu laughed heartily. After Ding Fengchou said this, he had earned another 6 million medial-grade spirit stones. Congratulations, City Lord. You have earned another 6 million medial-grade spirit stones. A few old men stood up and congratulated. Gao Yangyu could not hide the smile on his face. He said in high spirits, "The next person with consecutive victories seems to be Jiang Zimo." How much did he bet? It is less than Ding Fengchou's. However, it is still 3 million. Gao Yangyu said sullenly, "The non-phase divine technique is indeed difficult to deal with. However, it should not be a problem if I spend some resources on him." Ding Fengchou's consecutive victories came to an end. However, he won the remaining 17 matches. He had a total of 63 victories. Given this, regardless of the results of the matches tomorrow and the day after, Ding Fengchou had obtained the qualifications to appear in the first round. The spectators all felt that it was a pity. If Ding Fengchou had not ended in a draw in his first match, he might have broken the record of 60 consecutive victories. The sound of cursing in the crowd was even louder than when Pei Xiaoxian lost. This was because there were simply too many people who bet on Ding Fengchou. In the end, Ding Fengchou did not even manage to obtain 50 consecutive victories. He fell on the 47th match. The people who bet on him had lost everything. When Ding Fengchou passed by Jiang Zimo, he said, "The 60 consecutive victories will depend on you. The endurance of your non-phase divine technique is sufficient for you to continue smiling proudly." Jiang Zimo shook his head and smiled, "It will be difficult. My non-phase divine technique wins by endurance, but it also loses by endurance." After a few matches, Jiang Zimo entered the arena. His first opponent was a 100-year-old old man with extremely dense essence. When Jiang Zimo felt this person's aura, his heart sank slightly. The old man's greatest advantage was that every one of his palm strikes contained 100% of its might. However, he only exhausted 10% of his essence. Thus, if an ordinary person fought with him and went all out, he would exhaust his essence in no time. However, he would still have an abundance of essence. This was the strangeness of the non-phase divine technique. It was one of the 3 inferior grade heaven-ranked cultivation techniques of the Myriad Fiend Palace. However, this old man who had lived for an unknown period of time was very problematic. The other party might be lacking in everything, but he definitely would not lack essence. Bang! 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 After the two greeted each other, they immediately started fighting. They clashed head-on, exchanging blows with each other. Both of them used their full strength. Strong essence surged in the dueling ring. Every time the palm winds clashed, a huge pit would appear in the dueling ring. Intense explosions rang out incessantly, completely suppressing the sound of the towering war drums. The two fought tirelessly. The might of the palm winds that erupted from the two were about equal. The only thing that mattered was who could exhaust their essence first. After 1,000 moves, the shock waves of the two's battle riddled the vast arena with holes. There was not a single place that was unscathed. The old man's complexion slowly paled. His strength seemed to run out. As for Jiang Zimo, his face did not turn red, and he did not pant. There was no change in him at all. The air buzzed from the palm winds, but the might did not weaken at all. Bang! The two exchanged another palm strike. This time, they were not evenly matched. The old man was knocked back several dozen steps, but Jiang Zimo only took 3 steps back. You can't hold on anymore? Again. Jiang Zimo smiled faintly and flew forward. Then, he sent a palm strike at the old man's chest. The palm wind was still as sharp as before, its might did not weaken at all. With one palm strike, the old man vomited blood and was defeated. The second match continued. In the end, another old man over 100 years old appeared. Jiang Zimo smiled bitterly. After exchanging 1,000 moves with him, the other party's essence was exhausted. He could no longer keep up with Jiang Zimo's might and was defeated in one move. The third match continued. The one who appeared was another old man over 100 years old. His aura was deep and drawn out. With one look, it was clear that he was a cultivator with rich essence. Jiang Zimo exchanged another 1,000 moves with him. His opponent's essence could no longer keep up, and Jiang Zimo defeated him again. The fourth match continued. The one who appeared was another old man over 100 years old. When Jiang Zimo saw the old man's relaxed expression, his lips twitched slightly. He felt extremely depressed in his heart. Although Jiang Zimo had expected that the other party would find many cultivators with rich essence to take turns fighting him, he had not expected Gao Yangyu to be so disgusting. However, Jiang Zimo did not expect Gao Yangyu to be so disgusting. He actually looked for old fellows who were over 100 years old. Every time they fought, it would take more than 1,000 moves. No matter how powerful the phaseless divine art was, he would tire himself to death if this went on. Jiang Zimo waved his hand helplessly and said, "You may go down. I admit defeat for this match." When the old man heard this, he heaved a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "Many thanks, little friend. I am just a bag of old bones. It will be even harder for me to endure 1,000 moves than for you youths." After 49 consecutive victories, Jiang Zimo did not manage to reach 50 consecutive victories. Another mournful wail resounded in the crowd. As long as Jiang Zimo passed 50 consecutive victories, he would be able to obtain some money. It was just that the payout was small. Who knew that Jiang Zimo would not be able to make it past the final step despite being so close? After that, Mu Xinya appeared. The crowd rekindled their last hope. Mu Xinya was as famous as Jiang Zimo. Perhaps she would be able to obtain 50 or even 60 consecutive victories. Chapter 447. However, Mu Xinya did not want to use the energy that the Heavenly Wolf King left behind. That would leave her in a weakened state for a long time. In the end, Mu Xinya lost to Gao Yangyu's sneak attack, stopping at 48 consecutive victories. AI. When Mu Xinya was defeated, several thousand people in the large spectator stand sighed. No one managed to break through even after 50 consecutive victories, what more 60? This time, we have lost everything. Gao Yangyu's mood became exceptionally good after the final threat was eliminated. He smiled and said, "Tabulate the total amount of medial-grade spirit stones that we obtained in this wrestling ring." After a while, an old man took out a stack of information and said, "There is a total of 20 million medial-grade spirit stones bet on these 4 people. They all stopped at 50 consecutive victories. That is to say, the people who bet on them will not get a single cent. If the person who bet on obtained 50 consecutive victories, then the person who bet on them would obtain 50% of the payout. After that, for every 10 consecutive victories, the payout would double. The payout would be double for 60 consecutive victories, double for 70 consecutive victories, quadruple for 80 consecutive victories, and 16 times for 100 consecutive victories." The odds looked extremely tempting, but unfortunately, if they stopped at 50 consecutive wins, they wouldn't be able to get a single cent. They would lose everything they had. Furthermore, with Gao Yangyu's clever promotion, the wrestling ring this time was the ancient Desolate Tower's first round of selections. This caused the number of bets to soar. After this wrestling ring ended, who knew how many cultivators would be penniless and have to start all over again? Gao Yangyu paused for a while and thought of something. He said, "What is the amount of bets on that Xiao Chen?" The few of them lowered their heads and flipped through the information on the table. Then, they said, "Hey, why did it suddenly reach 2 million? Gao Yangyu's expression changed slightly. He said, "Didn't we freeze the bets on this brat? How could there be 2 million bets?" The few of them checked carefully and said, "I found it. Yesterday and the day before, there were only 1 million bets. That should be normal. After all, he is a contestant with consecutive victories. However, today, there is an increase of 1 million. Something is not right." Gao Yangyu sneered, "It looks like someone wants to gamble. Unfortunately, they chose the wrong person. It shouldn't be a problem to use Master Bai to deal with that kid, right? He's the only one with a winning streak now." Gao Yangyu said indifferently, "Old Bai is 150 years old. When he uses his full strength, even I find it hard to deal with him. Even if Old Bai fails, Tuoba Luyun and Imo Yen still have one more chance. Do you think this brat has a chance?" In the spectator stands, when everyone's gazes were focused on Mu Xinya, another 2 acupoints on Xiao Chen's left arm exploded. 2 streams of blue dragon energy slowly wandered on his arms and slowly seeped into his skin. Xiao Chen opened his eyes slightly and revealed a faint expression of joy on his face. He said, "I am just short of great perfection of the firmament body tempering art's 4th layer. After today's battle, it looks like I will definitely reach greater mastery. However, I wonder if Gao Yangyu will give me this opportunity. It would be his turn soon." Xiao Chen thought for a while and stopped cultivating. He got up and walked to the front of the spectator stands to watch the matches. The one fighting was Mu Xinya. She used 2 Mandarin duck sabers. The strength of the challengers in the wrestling ring increased by the day. Today, the strength of the challengers was comparable to the outstanding talents of the various regions. After all, they were all middle-aged cultivators. Although the outstanding talents of the various regions were outstanding, they had not fully matured yet. Furthermore, they had a good grasp of the strength of the challengers. Every match was exceptionally difficult. If they wanted to obtain victory, they had to go all out. Even someone as strong as Mu Xinya had a hard time winning. There were even a few draws. After the 18 matches ended, Mu Xinya walked off the wrestling ring, feeling somewhat fatigued. She received the 4,000-odd medial grade spirit stones from the gray-robed old man. Her winning streak had come to an end. She could not accumulate her previous winning streaks. Today, she had only won 15 matches. That was all she could obtain. Mu Xinya nodded gently at Xiao Chen and returned to Jiang Zimo's side. Pei Xiaoxian, who had already recovered from some of his injuries, smiled bitterly and said, "It was not easy to obtain 60 consecutive victories. Now, even the last hope is gone." Jiang Zimo smiled faintly and said, "There is still Xiao Chen's winning streak. Perhaps he still has hope." Pei Xiaoxian mocked, "What ability does he have? He could not even win against Ding Fengqiu." The others all expressed that they did not think well of Xiao Chen. Yun Ping's words were as mocking as ever. "He is beaten to death every day. How could he obtain consecutive victories today? What a joke. Jiang Zimo, your eyesight is too poor." Xiao Chen turned his head and swept his gaze across the people who spoke harshly. Finally, his gaze landed on Yun Ping. Although Xiao Chen had been immersed in cultivation, he had used his spiritual sense to observe his surroundings. This was to ensure that when someone interrupted his cultivation, he would be able to retaliate immediately. These people's numbers were all in front of Xiao Chen's. For the past few days, they had been mocking him non-stop like flies. No matter how good a person's temper was, they would still feel impatient. Yun Ping had suffered 17 consecutive defeats today. Furthermore, he had sustained significant sword injuries. He might not be able to recover by tomorrow. Yun Ping was in an extremely bad mood. When he felt Xiao Chen's gaze, he said angrily, "What are you looking at? What are you trying to do? Could it be that I can't even say a few words to you? Who do you think you are? How annoying." Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He pushed off the ground and his figure flashed, arriving before Yunping. Paw! Before Yunping could react, Xiaochen slapped him across the face. The sound of the slap was melodious, stunning everyone. How dare you hit me? You! This slap caused Yunping's face to swell up. Blood leaked out from the corner of his lips. Most importantly, it was done in front of everyone. This slap caused Yunping to lose all face. There was a saying that one should not hit the face when hitting someone. However, Xiaochen did not seem to care that much. Ka xie. Yunping grasped his sword hilt with his right hand and revealed a murderous intent. He was about to draw his sword and chop at Xiaochen. Paw! Xiaochen did not give Yunping any chance to draw his sword. He slapped Yunping's left cheek and sent him flying. The spectators' stands fell silent. Several people gaped in shock as they looked at Xiaochen in disbelief. It was like this was the first time they met this fellow. At this moment, Xiaochen was extremely cold. His killing chi was withdrawn. Although it was not released, everyone felt a chill. Compared to the usual calm and indifferent Xiaochen, he was like a completely different person. Ah! A miserable shriek rang out as Xiaochen kicked Yunping's chest. That spot happened to be the wound that Yunping suffered today. Yunping's internal organs had just recovered a little when Xiaochen kicked him. The intense pain was a small matter. If Yunping's injuries worsened, he would not be able to participate in the next 2 days of the competition. That was to say, Yunping was completely disqualified from the first round of selections. This guy's kick must have been intentional. Several people in the field thought in their hearts. His attack was really not ordinary ruthless. You can say whatever you want, but after you make a move, he will beat you up until you are disqualified from the selections. The people who normally mocked Xiaochen quickly hid in a corner, avoiding Xiaochen's gaze. Xiao Rou looked at Yunping, who was lying on the ground in pain and despair. She snorted coldly and said, "Serves him right. Let's see if this fellow still dares to speak so viciously." When Ding Fengqiu saw the situation, he was not surprised. He had never thought that Xiaochen was someone who acted normally, someone who would have any reservations. Otherwise, Xiaochen would not have attacked Jin Wuji so mercilessly that day after learning his identity. Just because Xiaochen had withdrawn his sharpness did not mean that he did not have it. Just because he did not have a temper did not mean that he had a good temper. This was Xiaochen. As a bladesman, Xiaochen's sharpness could not be reduced. His pride could not be broken. He wanted to condense his chi into saber intent. How could he allow others to humiliate him? Ding Fengqiu withdrew his gaze and stopped thinking. He only raised Xiaochen's position in his heart. Like Jiang Zimo, Xiaochen was one of Ding Fengqiu's biggest competitors for the 20 spots. When Pei Xiaoxian saw this scene, he felt a chill run down his spine. He felt an inexplicable chill. When Pei Xiaoxian thought about how he had just recovered from his injuries, he summoned out a spirit beast. He felt that it was not safe, so he summoned out another spirit beast. Then, he walked to a corner and started to treat his injuries. After doing all this, Xiaochen ignored Yunping, who was lying on the ground, groaning. Then, he turned his gaze back to the wrestling ring. This person was already crippled and could not enter the ancient desolate tower. He would never be a threat to Xiaochen. As long as Xiaochen continued to grow stronger, the sect behind Yunping would not offend Xiaochen for the sake of a second-rank genius. Even if Yunping made a move against Xiaochen, he still had 2 medallions to use. Xiaochen did not have to worry about making a move against Yunping. After Xiaochen caused such a commotion, the atmosphere turned strange. The originally lively discussions stopped. It was like everyone was afraid of Xiaochen. After a while, the voice of the grey-robed old man rang out, "Number 125, prepare to go out quickly." Xiaochen leaped up gently and landed in the wrestling ring. After he left, many of the people in the wrestling ring heaved a sigh of relief for some reason. It was like a heavy stone had been lifted from their hearts. "I am Xiaochen of the great Qin nation. Everyone, please give me some pointers." The sky slowly turned dark. The setting sun cast a fiery red glow over the wrestling ring, coating Xiao Chen's body with a faint red glow. Xiao Chen maintained a calm expression, neither happy nor angry. Just like that, Xiao Chen appeared before the crowd once again. Xiao Chen. This fellow is coming up again. Can he continue to win? Every time Xiao Chen won, he paid a heavy price. He was like a small leaf in a storm. In the storm, Xiao Chen was beaten into a mess. He rose and fell, but he persisted until the end every time, obtaining a victory that belonged to him. Would he continue to win? No one would say that he could. However, if they gave the opposite answer, no one would say that Xiao Chen would definitely lose. At this moment, Xiao Chen and the crowd in the spectator stands were all unfathomable. They were filled with boundless mysteries. It was hard to say whether Xiao Chen would win or not. Chapter 448. Of the 7 people with consecutive victories, only this person is left. Unfortunately, no matter what, it has nothing to do with me. I only bet 500 medial grade spirit stones on him. I bet less than you, only 200. I bet all of my bets on Ding Fengchou. Me too, I bet most of my bets on Jiang Zimo. I only bet 700 medial grade spirit stones on him. Let's wait and see. If he loses today, all his consecutive victories will come to an end. It would be like the wrestling ring ended early. When Xiao Chen entered the arena, with his familiar voice and expression, the many cultivators in the spectator stands perked up again. Many of them already had the mentality of watching the last match. After today, there would be no more consecutive victories. The greatest charm of the wrestling ring would be gone. It did not matter whether they watched or not. Hu Qi! Hu Qi! A strong wind blew in the arena. The wind howled and kicked up a cloud of dust, filling the air. This was a strong wind created by pure aura. Even though this person was here, his aura was already so strong. This person was not simple. Xiao Chen squinted his eyes and looked at the old man slowly descending from the sky. The person landed firmly on the ground. His hair and eyebrows were white and wrinkles appeared on his face. He looked old, and his voice was somewhat hoarse. He said indifferently, "Bai Mufeng, here to seek advice." It is actually Bai Mufeng. This old fellow has not come out for decades. I thought he was dead. I seem to remember this fellow. 50 or 60 years ago, he would often end the winning streaks of cultivators. After that, there was no news of him. Unexpectedly, he reappeared today. 50 years ago, he was already a superior grade martial king. How horrifying is his cultivation now? He should be strong enough to kill Xiao Chen. This time, it's all over. His last winning streak is about to end. When the spectators in the spectator stands saw the white-haired old man announce his name, they all shook their heads in regret. Originally, they thought that Xiao Chen would be able to obtain a few more consecutive victories. Now, they no longer held any hope. The reason for this was that the difference in cultivation was too great. Boom! Bai Mufeng did not pay attention to the surrounding voices. After he finished speaking, a 1-meter-long sword appeared in his hand and he waved it. A thick sword qi that was over 20 meters long swept out with boundless momentum. As the sword qi surged, it seemed as if even the air was being split in half. Xiao Chen tapped the ground with his toes and quickly dodged to the side, temporarily avoiding the attack. Boom! As soon as his foot left the ground, the thick sword qi crashed into the ground. With a loud bang, the sword qi created a long ravine that was half a meter deep. What a guy! The treasured sword hasn't aged. Instead, it's surging even more. Seeing this scene, the audience on the stage cried out in surprise. Boom boom boom. A strong wind blew and Bai Mufeng's figure flickered. He brandished his sword 4 times in a row and the 4 strands of sword qi intertwined with each other, spinning continuously. Every sword qi was more than 20 meters long. Like a windmill, they descended from the sky and pressed down on Xiao Chen. Whirlwind Sword Chop, by Mufeng's famous consummate skill. The power of the sword descends from the sky. You can't dodge this move, you can only face it head-on. Unexpectedly, this old fellow is still so strong. I remember that he could only brandish his sword twice in the past. Now, he can brandish his sword 4 times. Seeing this whirlwind sword chop, a sword expert immediately started explaining. Xiao Chen looked up and saw that the 4 strands of sword qi were spinning rapidly. He could no longer see their outlines, he could only see blurry shadows. The power of the sword condensed in the sky, carrying a supreme might as it slowly pressed down. Xiao Chen felt like a mountain was pressing down on him, he had no way to dodge. Even a mountain is pressing down, where can you hide? The whirlwind sword chop has reached such a level. What an exquisite sword move. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He thought to himself, unexpectedly, I can't dodge it. Since I can't dodge, I will break it for you. Xiao Chen shouted and the acupoints on his palm burst open. Boom! A strand of dragon qi gathered in his right arm. In that instant, Xiao Chen felt like he was filled with boundless strength, he could even shatter a mountain. The dragon qi gathered in his 5 fingers and he clenched his left hand into a fist. Then, Xiao Chen soared into the sky at the center of the whirlwind sword chop. You overestimate yourself. So what if you can break it? Bai Mufeng snorted coldly. The essence in his body surged and his clothes fluttered continuously. Who? The air started to surge along with the fluttering of his clothes. It formed a strong wind that howled back and forth in the dueling ring, rising and falling like waves. Whirlwind sword chop, 5 swords. Whirlwind sword chop, 6 swords. Whirlwind sword chop, 7 swords. Bai Mufeng's aura rose continuously. A strong wind blew and the sky changed color as he brandished his sword continuously. Boom! 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 The whirlwind sword chop grew larger and larger as it flew at Xiao Chen. As the sword qi spun, it stirred up a horrifying storm. The ground split open and huge chunks of soil flew into the sky, unable to withstand the horrifying force. Damn it! What is this Bai Mufeng trying to do? He is clearly trying to kill Xiao Chen. Someone in the crowd exclaimed. As the strong wind blew, several martial saint cultivators in the spectator stands could not stand stably and started to sway. However, Bai Mufeng did not stop. In the end, he sent out a whirlwind sword chop consisting of 10 strands of sword qi. Only then did he slow down. Who? Bai Mufeng panted continuously. After he sent out these 10 whirlwind sword chop, he seemed to have aged 10 years. His entire person also became extremely weak, he could no longer exert any strength. Layers upon layers of whirlwind sword slashes, each larger and stronger than the previous one, looked like a continuous mountain range that overlapped with each other. The expressions of the various outstanding talents in the spectator stands changed. This was especially so for those cultivators who were not on good terms with Xiao Chen. They all had joyful expressions on their faces. They could tell that the might of these 7 whirlwind sword chop was boundless. An ordinary martial king would not be able to withstand it. It was very likely that Xiao Chen would die under these layers of whirlwind sword chop. How could they be happy? Jiang Zimo, Xia Xian, and the others all had worried expressions on their faces. They had not expected such an intense scene to occur in the wrestling ring. Xiao Chen's expression was calm. He ignored the strong wind and the rocks flying around him. He punched the center of the pinwheel sword chop, which was at the very front, where the sword qi intersected. Break! The whirlwind sword chop shattered and a huge force surged into Xiao Chen's body, causing his internal organs to churn. The shattered sword qi were like knives raining down on Xiao Chen's body, leaving behind bloody wounds. Boom! The second acupoint on Xiao Chen's left arm, below his palm, exploded. The 2 strands of dragon qi merged and shattered it with one punch. Then, he followed up with the second whirlwind sword chop. The third acupoint exploded. Once again, Shao Chen broke through an even more powerful pinwheel sword chop, slashing his way through. When the final 5 strands of dragon chi gathered, Shao Chen had already broken through the whirlwind sword chop formed by the 9 strands of sword chi. Only the last strand of sword chi remained. It was also the strongest, the whirlwind sword chop with 10 strands of sword chi. Shao Chen's clothes were already in tatters from the shattered sword chi. Wounds of various sizes covered his body. There was not a single part of him that was unscathed. If not for his strong physical body, just the shattered sword chi would have torn Shao Chen to shreds countless times over. When Shao Chen saw the final whirlwind sword chop, he shouted. The blue dragon tattoo on his right arm suddenly came to life. His right fist, which he had not used, finally exploded out. Bang! A dragon might spread out, completely suppressing that mountain-like aura. There was a loud sound, and the entire wrestling ring could not help but tremble a few times. Whoosh! The whirlwind sword chop formed by the 10 strands of sword chi shattered into countless strands of sword chi. They fell to the ground like rain. Amid the rain of sword chi, Shao Chen descended from the sky and punched at Bai Mufeng. When Bai Mufeng saw Shao Chen break the 10 whirlwind sword chop, his eyes filled with shock. He had not expected such an ending. Bai Mufeng wanted to resist, but he discovered that he had already exhausted all his essence on the whirlwind sword chop. He did not have any strength left. Bang! With a punch, Bai Mufeng's aged body floated into the sky like a kite with a broken string. Pu ci. Pu ci. The rapidly descending sword chi struck Bai Mufeng's body like rain. Soon, thousands of holes appeared on his body, leaving behind countless bloody holes. When Bai Mufeng landed, he was completely dead. A strong wind blew. The spectators could not accept this fact. Bai Mufeng was actually killed by the shattered sword chi that he sent out. Damn! He is still alive. Yun Ping endured the intense pain as he looked at Shao Chen, who was still standing. His heart filled with hatred. Xia Xian and the others heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were astonished at Shao Chen's strength. Up in the tall tower, Gao Yangyu's expression remained calm. He looked at the bleeding and injured Shao Chen, who was panting. He said, "Tell Tuoba Luyun to prepare to fight. Don't give this fellow any time to vent. I do not want him to lose, I just want him to die." The strength that Shao Chen displayed made Gao Yangyu not hold much hope of defeating Shao Chen in one go. Bai Mufeng originally did not have much lifespan left. He was already very satisfied that he could reduce Shao Chen to such a miserable state. When the other old men in the room saw Gao Yangyu's cold expression, they all felt a slight chill. Unexpectedly, Gao Yangyu did not lament the death of one of his subordinates. Such cold-bloodedness made everyone tremble in fear. Dee-da! Dee-da! Blood dripped from Shao Chen's wounds onto the ground. Pain spread throughout his entire body. It was hard to imagine that a martial king could send out 10 layers of whirlwind sword chops. Even with Shao Chen's essence, he would not be able to sustain the exhaustion of this move. Only an old monster like Bai Mufeng, who had lived for more than 150 years, could do this. Unfortunately, Bai Mufeng had not expected Shao Chen to have the blue dragon's chi. That was the power of a half-step martial monarch's full power strike. This was also a trump card that Shao Chen would not use unless he had no other choice. Once he used it, he would be able to break any killing move under half-step martial monarch. Even so, Shao Chen found the injuries somewhat unbearable. Although the external injuries looked horrifying, they were small matters. It was just some pain. After enduring it for a while, it would pass. With Shao Chen's mental state, it would not affect his combat. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.